Oh, is he? Oh, nice. Hunter?
Yeah. Wonder, it's that time of year.
Yeah.
Figured I'd call him tomorrow.
Yeah, give him a holler. But yeah, he's driving down Friday and
Okay.
heading out Monday. I think he's doing Saturday bluegrass, that's it.
Because he hasn't been here the last few years for it.
I'm just trying to think of the last time I saw him. We've been at the Boulder shows.
Last time I saw him was Commerce City like 2 years ago.
Was what?
Commerce City a few years ago.
Right.
All right, we'll call the meeting to order. It is June 17th at 7 p.m. and we're at the regular meeting for the Rico Board of Trustees. First up is a roll call. Present, I have Scott Poston, Tom Clark, Ben Bernadakis, Crystal Hibbert, Garrett Willis, and myself. Next up is the approval of the agenda.
I move we approve the agenda.
I'll second.
All in favor? Yes. Aye. Next on the agenda is the approval for the minutes. We have last month's regular meeting and a special meeting from June 3rd.
I just noticed that under clerk's report for our regular meeting, some are residents coming back in. It's just a quick misspelling between residents being a home and residents being other people.
Anything else?
I'll make a motion to approve both of the minutes.
We had a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Next on the agenda is payment of the bills. Unanimous or no?
Should be here in person, but not certain. I can answer any questions about them though.
Yeah, I just wondered, it's all good. Any questions on bills, comments, concerns?
What is Summit Recreation under the Open Park Fund?
So I was gonna bring that up in Mary's report, but I'll talk about it now. We just had a lot of feedback from young families in the community that the swing that we had, we removed, when we replaced the swing set, we removed the one toddler swing that had the feet holes, so they didn't have to be able to have the body strain. And we purchased a swing to swap one of them out, and that's a Summit Recreation is the vendor for common park projects.
That was my favorite.
What?
That was my favorite.
Any more on the bills? Gary?
I'll move that we approve the payment of the bills.
A second. Second. All in favor? Aye. Aye. Yep. All right. Next on the agenda is public comment for non-agendized items only. Anybody who would like to speak to something that's not on the agenda may do so now. Come on up.
Thank you. My name's Monique DeGiorgio. Should I sit here or is that okay?
Yeah, as long as we can hear you, you're fine.
I live in the Sundial neighborhood, and just wanted to be here tonight to share a little bit of information about recycling, both organics and single-stream plastics, aluminum, and some information I've been getting from folks in the community, and just share with you some ideas that I have. Also brought this up to the Planning Commission, and I'm gonna get some information to Chauncey, but just wanted to share it with you, tell you of my interest in particular and kind of my willingness to help and volunteer and get something up and running if the town wanted to do that. We did conduct a survey with Fireweed, about 22 people responded, and there's a lot of interest in composting, recycling organics, and anecdotally people have interest in trying to recycle. The state of Colorado recently passed the extended producer responsibility bill, so there are funds now actually for communities like ours to haul recycling to Dolores and Cortez, and I'd be willing to help take a look at that. Teamed up with the Rico Land Collaborative, and Skippy is here, and you'll be hearing from Teal later. So we have a nonprofit that would be willing to kind of step in and help partner with the town and get something going, but I think the next steps are for me to get some more information with the Rico Land Collaborative, work with Chauncey, or anything else that you might advise. So I just wanted to bring it up during public comment and get any feedback you have kind of early on in the process. And if it makes sense to have an agenda item moving forward, we can do that. And I'm sorry I'm late, I just ran. So, just in time.
How many people were surveyed?
22 people responded about organics recycling, and 90% of those said that they would be interested in some type of a program, willing to pay some amount. Of course, if we can get the cost covered altogether, that would be great, and just kind of encourage participation across the board. So we kind of paused on getting more participants because Fireweed initially thought that they would take it on, but she's got her hands full. It's a lot for a business to do. So I thought I would kind of transfer that information over to my efforts, and then the Rico Land Collaborative as a nonprofit in the community is interested in helping, so we could probably get some more information. But I didn't query people about single stream recycling, but I've kind of heard, I hear we all hoard our recycling, you know, so it seems like I've heard that people are interested in, you know, probably having a way to get it somewhere. Obviously we can't recycle it here, we have to go most likely to Dolores or Montezuma County or the city of Cortez, maybe Durango.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much for hearing, and then Chauncey, I'll just be in touch later.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Public comment? Skip, come on up.
I'd like to build briefly on Monique's presentation. This seemed, the discussion with her and Rico Land Collaborative, this was a logical extension of the town cleanup. The last one went off really well, even better than the one before. I expect continued enthusiastic support for that. I think the energy we saw at that cleanup could move into a town-wide recycling program. As Monique said, there's state money out there, specifics to be determined. That said, the contractor who provided the dumpster for the cleanup is also involved in dumpsters, streaming dumpsters. The contractor that we are comfortable working with is also a possibility, probable in terms of continuing adding recycling to this program. Again, there's some time and effort and energy that needs to go into this with a reasonable presentation to y'all and the town in general. Perhaps we conduct another survey to see the town's interest in this. Thanks.
Any other public comment? Alex, I know, gotta have something, huh? No?
Agenda items.
All right, fair enough. Next on the agenda is consideration of ARCO declaration of use restriction for Dolores County properties. In our packet is that declaration of use restriction agreement. It's a little vague to me. Chauncey's explained some, but I don't know, Chauncey, can you brief us on this? I don't know. Seems like we didn't get a whole lot of information on it.
Yeah, this
Maybe
is.
it could have been a discussion item so we could have better understand before we made a decision.
I guess it doesn't really matter. AR wants to put restrictions on their land. They would like the town to be a third-party beneficiary, so if someone was hard rock mining and they were no longer operating in this valley, we could enforce those covenants. The town chooses not to do that, this will still be recorded. In the town, there just won't be an enforcement mechanism, it would just be in the title chain or in the title report and in property records of that. It's not obligating the town to enforce, it just gives the town the opportunity to be the enforcement party if the town is the prevailing party on a property owner who decides to hard rock mine, then there would be the ability to recoup legal costs. So that's kind of a high level summary. If the board says we're not interested in this, we can say, hey, please remove these lines out of the document. Sounds like they'll still most likely record this at the county, there just won't be any mechanism of enforcement inside of the agreement.
Did they send you the maps?
It's all legal exhibits, so it's 33 pages of legal
Just
property
legal
records,
descriptions.
and they're still, I asked for that originally, I got it somewhat recently, they're still going through quality control on that to make sure they have the description proper and I think the rights to be able to record that. So they provided it at the end of last week, but it's not attached to this agreement because they're still going through the review to make sure it's comprehensive. And this also, just to add a little more context, I think it's in the memo, part of the voluntary cleanup agreement was that both the town and Atlantic Richfield would sign a restrictive covenant for hard rock mining and all mining besides geothermal on any property either the town or Atlantic Richfield owns within town limits. That's in perpetuity. So that was handled months ago when the agreement became effective. It was one of the deliverables required. It had a set timeline. This would be for all the land in the surrounding valley that's not within town's limits. Tom did review our 3-mile IGA with the county and a few other things just to make sure we had the authority to be able to enforce this if the board wants us to be there. And we do have that through some agreements we have with the Dolores County Board of County Commissioners.
So the new restrictions still allow for surface mining, so to speak,
Yeah, that's not
and geothermal.
I have a question, just, because there's a typo at the end, or maybe it's not a typo if the town indifferent to our decisions, but on the recommended motion, it's just item two, and then it doesn't tell us what.
I think there was just no opinion there, was my
Okay, so
assumption, or it was a typo.
I would recommend approving it, I think as presented, with the fact that there is no obligation to the town if the future board, if there was a violation and the future board doesn't say, hey, we want to enforce this or not enforce it, the town's not liable or culpable for any action taken against the board or town staff for not enforcing it, it just gives the opportunity. So I think there's pretty low consequence to it, and it's, if they're willing to do this in the surrounding community, I think generally people are in favor of it. But you all speak to more folks probably, so you might have a better baseline if people want surface mining, strip mining to come back to this area, or hard rock mining, or whatever it may be.
I mean, to understand that any adjacent properties that aren't owned by ARCO or still, anybody could
Yeah, like outlets.
mine all they want, so it's not.
This is just for the Atlantic Richfield portfolio that they purchased from disposition properties.
Right, which we don't really know what it is, but we can take their word for it, it's fine. Yeah, I don't see what the big, what benefit it is to the town taking on something that we might not enforce. But I don't see what it's hurting either, I don't know.
Yeah, I see this is really low risk. I don't know why we would even have to vote on it. I mean, it's something that is covered by the B Cup. They're just providing it at this time. I like I kind of agree with you, Pat, it's just a discussion item rather than anything we would have to take action on, but it's on the agenda, so we can take action.
I guess our action was not asking to be removed as
Yeah, they said
enforcing party.
they don't want to record this agreement if the town doesn't approve being a third-party beneficiary. So if the board's not in support, that can be removed. I think there's still value in the document in the sense that, on that title report and those documents, if someone's buying a claim with the intention of hard rock mining, they may see that and say, oh, we're gonna shift. So it's good in that title custody side of things, but it could be so hard to sort of speculate what the future looks like. But that's why there's action on it.
Got it.
In the future, we could end up having to enforce this, the cost of that, maybe getting it back if we were to prevail in court. I mean, it could ultimately cost the town money if we were to, or we just say we're not gonna enforce it.
Yeah, we don't have to enforce anything, it just gives us the option to, if we feel
Yeah,
it's,
it doesn't obligate.
yeah, if it's
I
appropriate.
understand that, I mean, if we take on the obligation to be the enforcer, I think we should intend to enforce it, but it's fine either way. Like a lot of the laws we have that we don't enforce, you know, probably not what we should be doing, but.
I think it's better to have the option rather than to sit here with our hands tied.
Yeah.
If something were to come up.
I have a question or looking for some feedback. When I read it, like, what jumped out at me is it was more of this it was more of them securing the exclusions and making sure those were in place, which you mentioned. That's kind of what I thought it was basically all about, just the making sure that the exclusions and the things that they could still do what they mentioned, excluding soil, gravel, geothermal. So I just sort of read it as sort of a formal way to make sure, for them to sort of secure those exclusions and make sure they were in place valley-wide. And it's okay. That's kind of how I looked at it, though.
Do you know if there are intentions for surface mining? Why it would be mentioned like that?
Seems like they're protecting themselves to engage in those future exclusions should they choose to.
If they're gonna
That's how I
do
look at it.
remediation on one of these parcels one day and they need to borrow or cover to either build a road or actually cover up something or create, some kind of storage for material they don't want exposed anymore, then that would be the surface mining application that I see that is obvious.
There's that seems like a pragmatic example, something that might come up. So it's like, I guess, like how we feel about that.
I mean, we don't get to say
But
whether they can put these restrictions or not. All we get to say is whether we would like the option one day to point out if someone is breaking one of these rules.
Exactly, and as Chauncey said, or if there is some litigation, they want to use it down, but yeah, totally. So.
Any more discussion? Public comment on the side?
Yeah, my name's Alex Wing. I was speaking on this one to the previous trustee, and that trustee suggested that this was something that the town had asked for previously. Is that true? Do you know? My understanding was that it came up when they were buying all the properties. People were concerned that they were going to try to mine again. So they were trying to make sure that that concern goes away by saying nobody can mine on this again. So is that not something the town asked for? Or
It might have been private V-Cup discussions, but it wasn't the board that asked for that. Not that we wouldn't have, or maybe it got mentioned, but I don't think that's, I mean, if it was 5 years ago, if that's what just come out of it.
Okay.
Kind of goes with Arthur's timeline.
My public comment then is, unless you want to see new mines, I don't know why anybody would have an issue with it.
Well, I mean, I think in answer to that, Alex, they're gonna do it anyway. So if that's already in place, it's just, does the town wanna be involved with something that's in the county, out of town? Personally, I don't think we have a lot of information, but I don't see it being a problem either, so. Any other comment? No? The board like to make a decision here? You got something?
I was just kind of wondering if it gives them more power.
I mean, they're the ones putting it forward.
Yeah, they are.
They can do it with
So-
or without our
Yeah, put whatever restrictions on the property they want.
Okay,
Not in town limits.
thanks.
I will make an attempt at a motion to try to capture what we've decided that we're actually doing here.
Cool.
I move to approve the inclusion of the town as a third-party beneficiary in the ARCO Declaration of Use Restriction for Dolores County properties.
I'll second that.
Scott, how do you vote?
Aye.
Tom?
In favor?
Ben? Yes. Crystal?
Yes.
Aye.
Aye.
All right, there we go. Next on the agenda is consideration of a letter of support for Southwestern Water Conservation District, Southwest Colorado Domestic Water Resilience Assessment and Drought Management Strategy Grant Request. There's no money presenting from your organization. You want to tell us about it in a little bit, Chauncey?
Yeah, Harris Engineering in partnership with another engineering firm in the Southwest Water Conservation District are putting in for the HAND grant. So this would be for resiliency and drought issues with domestic water supplies, so municipal, other trailer parks, water haulers, all those things, to just get a broader picture of what the Southwest Colorado has available, what water rates are, and what projects could potentially come down the pipeline for future grant funding to help different communities if there were droughts and calls on the river. So they're looking for a letter of support for the grant application. It doesn't obligate the town. There's no match request or anything like the Dolores Water Conservation Grant that we supported, just the letter of support at this time.
I imagine there's a lot of communities sending letters of support in whole Southwest Colorado.
Yeah, there's a lot of support behind this. I think they're covering, and I'm not certain, but that district is Dolores, Archuleta, La Plata, and Montezuma County. So it would affect those, and maybe San Juan. So the 5 counties would all potentially be beneficiaries of this study.
So we're providing a letter of support for a strategy for a county that we're not in.
Dolores County.
Oh, Dolores County is in there, sorry.
Yes. Yeah, so it would be, if they get this, then there would be a report that comes out of it, and they want to meet with staff and understand what we have going on and compile evidence projects and where we're at. They could be as simple for some communities as leak detection and less loss, or other things like ours in terms of contemplating the reservoir or whatever.
And all that information will be public knowledge when it's done, or at least
Oh, yeah, the
privileged to us.
report will be public, they'll want to present to the board. They seem pretty engaged, they've already asked for some meetings to do walkthroughs of our systems and get a look at our records on certain components. We've worked with Harris Engineering as a community on and off, their names are on reports 20 to 30 years ago, so they're pretty familiar with what we have going on in this other firm as well. So I think it's a great opportunity if it gets funded. I know it's another essentially planning document, but there's always value in those. We're pursuing other funding opportunities for water system improvements over the next 5 to 10 year horizon.
Something we talk about a lot.
A lot.
Chauncey, I did notice in the last paragraph of the first page, I think it should say as a town that provides municipal
Yes.
water. Okay.
Any other board discussion, questions for Chauncey, better understanding of what we're agreeing to here? No public comment? Come on up, Skip.
This is a curiosity question, couple of things, decision you all might take. Chauncey, do you know where the grant money will be coming from?
Colorado Water Conservation Board is the grantor.
Anybody else? All right. Who wants to wrap it up?
I'll make a motion to move to approve the letter of support for the Southwestern Water Conservation District grant request.
I'll second.
Aye. Scott? Yeah. Tom? Ben? Yeah. Crystal?
Yes.
Garish? Aye. Next on the agenda is staff and committee reports. Chauncey, do you have any?
No updates on
No
Smart.
smart update?
We circulated that poll out through a newsletter on social media and on the town's website. I haven't heard from Carrie and get the responses on yet.
No, I think the poll's great, but I was thinking about it some, and it seemed like, I don't think people are gonna wanna leave earlier than 7, you know, maybe they should just schedule it a couple hours later than 7. Whatever time before they, or, you know, whatever they're cutting off the afternoon, I don't know if we need to make a huge production or just tell Terry to pick the time and make it later. Fix it when it's broken. Read it for smart, yep. Go on to the manager's report.
Anna's on.
Oh, Anna is here. Hi, Anna.
Hi there. Sorry, I'm not there in person. I'm trying really hard to figure this out with Eddie. It's a really challenging time, so thank you for your patience. As far as the clerk's report goes, I obviously do my normal monthly duties. In addition to that, this month, you may have noticed, but I have planted all of the planters, the barrels around town. Planted them. I've been watering them about twice a week to keep them going. We put a bit of seed down around the skate park just to try and encourage some more growth around it. So if we get rain, mud doesn't come onto the skate park. We'll see with zero rain and not much water, no watering. We're not sure if that will actually hold. If you've been by the park, you'll see that we have a new toddler swing. We replaced one of the flat kid swings with a toddler swing. It's been getting a lot of use. That was something that was observed that we were missing in our park. I've been doing a lot of 4th of July prep, ordering porta-johns, getting ready for the activities that the town participates in. So that's been taking a bit of my time. I also just completed the yearly CIRSA renewal paperwork. So we send in the paperwork kind of expressing whether or not things have changed and what our workman's comp hours were last year and what we project them to be for 2027. A food pantry update. It's going great. Something new for this summer is that the Southwest Food Coalition, I may be getting their name wrong, put in for a grant and received a grant that they will be buying. They outright are buying all of the produce from a local farm somewhere in our region. And that food will be distributed to all of the food pantries in the Southwest Colorado area who are part of this coalition. We, through Dove Creek, are part of it. So we should be receiving fresh produce twice a month moving forward. We're still trying to figure out the logistics of getting it up to Rico, but there will be more fresh produce throughout the summer, which is really great. With all programs are getting cuts, but our pantry is still really well stocked. If you know anybody who needs to take advantage of it or wants to or wants information, just send them my way. Just always trying to promote it. Tuesday, Wednesdays, 2 to 4 p.m. is when we're open. Anybody can come by and check it out at any point if they're interested in that. And that's really all I have.
Very good, thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody questions for Anna? Anybody in the audience have questions for Anna? All right, well, thank you, Anna.
Oh, I do have a question, Anna, sorry. The addition of the new fresh produce from the farms, is that part of the side of the pantry that is reserved for folks with demonstrated need? Or is that for anyone to take advantage of?
That is for everyone to take advantage of. The majority of the pantry is for everybody to take advantage of. It's actually it's 1.5 shelves that's for only limited income folks to take advantage of. The majority of our pantry is actually, it's called Care and Share. That's the program, and that is not income limited. So anybody can take advantage of a protein item a week, and mostly, especially with the low usage we have, as much produce as they will use.
Great, thank you.
All right, Chauncey, the manager's report.
I don't have too much stuff. As you see, grading is done, mag chloride applied. I think all the speed bumps are installed besides 2 sets, one going further up Mill Road, and then we're going to also introduce a kind of a slow zone by the park behind the school. We have just countless kids on dirt bikes and ATVs and golf carts just ripping down the roads right now, so we're gonna start enforcing that a little more seriously as well. Just something we gotta be really cognizant of, especially in the school and park zone. So no kids on dirt bikes and quads, talk to them. We are still working on and going through just a quick update, final touches on special event, pavilion policy, RTA agreement, and then some repeal ordinances, all to be on the table ideally for the July meeting. So kind of rounding the corner on some of those. And then just a couple other little things. Myself, Pat, and Crystal will be out next week at CML. I'll send an email on Monday just as a reminder so people are aware of that. We're presenting, Town of Rico's presenting with Newcastle. We have a session. I think it's gonna be excellent. Put a lot of work into it with those folks. Really great town manager over there. And speaking with one of their public information officers, we have 160 people pre-registered. So we're putting in a big room, which I think is pretty cool. Also find it fascinating people pre-register. Because I'm usually a fly by the seat of my pants person, so that was pretty fascinating to learn. And then, I don't know the exact details, but my family's doing, my grandfather passed away a month ago approximately. I'm doing a memorial type thing at the end of July. So I may be gone for a week at the end of July, but I'll be available remote, still putting hours, and I just will be on the East Coast. And that's all I have.
Chauncey, when are you gonna hear, or have you heard about your fellowship? Or
There was an opportunity, but it wasn't fully funded, so I didn't accept it because I thought it was too much of a lift for the town's budget this year.
Sorry to hear about your grandpa.
90 something, so.
we were 9-something short?
No, 90 something years old, my grandfather was one, so I just say.
What was it?
Because there's two things going on, no worries.
What was the something part? 90?
91,
91.
yeah, if I make it to that, I'll be pretty happy.
Yeah, totally.
Make it close, please take me out.
Anybody got anything else for Chauncey? Or the manager's report goes. Anybody in the audience?
I got one thing, Chauncey, it's just a suggestion that I made before, but if the town could buy more speed bumps and put the speed so that we have enough to put all the way across the road so that people aren't making weird maneuvers and stuff, and then put more down, but that would be great.
Now that the roads are nice, I think we can probably put some speed bump in.
We have them out, we're just, we may need to.
They've got some down
How many
already.
do we have total? How many do we have through town now?
Right now we have Mance, we kind of have the main thoroughfare loops off the highway that see more like pass-through traffic than residential sections of town, so essentially, it's Mance, Silver Street, Soda Street, going partially, soon to be going partially up Mill Road for people going out that way, River Street, or West Soda before you turn on to River Street, and then at the top of Depot Hill is kind of the two loops that we see the most traffic come through. People turn off the highway and then want to find their way back. We're always open to suggestions. It's not, everyone doesn't get a speed bump in front of your house. It's not a safe way to manage traffic, but we're definitely open for suggestions if there's areas or pinch points in town where there may be benefit to installing them.
That's it? All right, well. Next up, Teal, you're up with the Rico Geothermal Coalition update. I don't know if you have something to present or reiterate what you already sent us.
Yes, I want to offer the town an update. It's nice to see all of you. Thanks for your time this evening and for your service to the town. Chauncey, I did send you a map that, I'm not sure if you received it, it was an image that might be helpful for the presentation.
Yes.
But I also have some printed copies because I just got this map from our geologist, this morning. I think it's gonna give you guys a good, visual for what I'm gonna share with you this evening. For starters, I just want to, mention a very brief summary about what we've done so far with the geothermal project, which has now been, operating under the new RICO Geothermal Coalition for 4 years. And last year, in September of 2025, we completed our scoping study, phase 1, which was focused on a townwide survey and creating a comprehensive geothermal geologic mapping model. And we're now into phase 2, 7 months. And phase 2 is focused on putting a monitoring well in the ground for data collection that can confirm the potential of our geothermal resource. We've made some great progress on identifying a location for a monitoring well. And I want to share that the monitoring well, the value of this monitoring well is to assess 4 key areas. We'll be looking at the lithology, which are the rock layers, and confirming what Leadville or what limestone, either Leadville or Formosa limestone formation, are the best formation for the containment of this geothermal resource. And that's helpful because it gives us an indicator of where it's located. The structural testing, hydraulic testing, and geochemistry are also data that we plan to collect from this monitoring well, which will help us to understand the breadth of this resource, how it's interconnected with other current surface geothermal boreholes, and hopefully what the capacity of this reservoir will be for any future development that we want to entertain as a community. The drilling locations that have been considered have been based on some very specific constraints that we have that we're working with for this geothermal resource. The geologic location, we have 2 fault boundaries that run perpendicular to the valley floor just north of town, the Nellie Bly Fault and the Last Chance Fault. And the reservoir looks to be contained within those faults that we're working with for where to put the monitoring well in the ground to ensure the best chances that we actually tap the reservoir. And then part of our constraints are also based on permitting and funding and access for surface land. And I know that was something that was requested. The last update I provided, I think, was in January. And the board was hoping to see an overlay on the resource with surface land ownership. So that's what this map indicates. And I'll pass this out too, so you can all see a little bit better.
Thank you.
Sure.
I want to mention, while I'm talking about the drilling location that we've identified, I'm really grateful to the town for coming to the table with us after the previous update I provided and offering town land as a location for the monitoring well. It's really wonderful to have the town showing up in this conversation actively. And unfortunately, none of the town-owned land locations fit within our confirmed location for the resource currently. So that was a consideration. We've also considered other landowners like CDOT, Atlantic Richfield, Bedrock Subdivision, which isn't on this map. They're a little bit further south. And in order to access the resource from that location, it would require what's called a deviated well bore, which is an angled well that is a lot more expensive. There's some great technology for it now, but it definitely doesn't fit within the budget that we have available for this humble monitoring well. We looked at Brian Lewis's land, and then we revisited conversations with Dave Bolson. And Dave Bolson's land is the most ideal location for accessing the reservoir. For starters, there's a surface artesian borehole on his land, and the location that we're looking at on this map is circled in black, and it's the road access to the hot springs that's right behind the gate. And so it has like a relief up above where the current borehole is located, which our drilling engineer really likes that because it provides what's called a static head, hydrostatic head on the well, which helps to give us the controls that we need to keep it capped with cold water if it is in fact also going to flow artesian, which we won't know until we get deeper into the drilling process. But it also offers us the best location for ensuring that we actually tap the reservoir so that we can gain the data that we need to fill in the data gaps that we currently have.
That's the one at the top of the road, as you go, if you were.
That's right, yeah,
way
so,
down.
yeah, so when as soon as you go behind the gate,
Yeah,
there's like a slightly wider area there, and there's actually like an old fire pit right in that spot.
yeah,
That's the drilling site that we've identified,
okay.
yes. And we walked that land with Dave Bolson, with our drilling engineer, Matt Stiasny, who actually grew up in Dove Creek. And he is bringing a drilling expert to the table, a father-son owned company that's also based out of Dove Creek. Yeah, so our hope is that this location is gonna provide us with the conclusive results that we need, which can then help us to understand what our next fundraising hurdle looks like, and if we wanna put a production well in the ground, what the implications would be for doing that. Something I wanted to discuss with the board, or just educate the board about in case you're not aware, there's geothermal rights fall into two categories: tributary versus non-tributary. Tributary geothermal rights have to do with the hot water being connected to a surface body of water and being fed by, it's just like what it sounds like, being fed by tributaries and affecting surface water. What we are currently working with north of town, to the best of our knowledge, is a tributary resource. Tributary resources are permitted through the Department of Water Resources, just like a water right. Non-tributary geothermal is deep geothermal. It's geothermal that's contained within a reservoir that's deep enough in the ground that it's not expected to affect surface water within a 100-year time period. And it's permitted through a different department in the state of Colorado called ECMC, which stands for Energy Carbon Management Commission. So what we're working with north of town, we are assuming is tributary. This monitoring well is going to also help us understand that more conclusively. But what goes along with this geothermal rights conversation is that Dave Bolson, for good reason, he is the first and only applicant right now in RICO who has applied and permitted for his geothermal right through DWR, Department of Water Resources, and with the assumption that it's tied to the surface. And what I want to emphasize with the town and the community at large is, as we gain this data from this monitoring well, the coalition wants to strongly encourage the town or possibly a public cooperative representing the community to be the next permitting applicant if we're looking towards putting a production well in the ground, because this will maintain the community access to this right. The way that water rights work, as most of you know, is first come, first serve, prior appropriation. So we want to be able to position the community in a way that we're going to maintain access to the geothermal resource as we continue to learn more about it.
So the right that Dave procured was to maintain that access on his land?
That's right, with his existing artesian borehole.
Okay, right.
has to be it has to be a property owner within the sphere. The coalition can't file on the right.
You know, that's a good question. I'm unclear about that, to be honest. Right now, the Rico Geothermal Coalition is not a standalone 501c3, as you know.
All right, so could a standalone 501c3 maybe perhaps?
Potentially,
Okay.
yeah, potentially. Let's see, what else do I wanna share? So final updates, our drilling engineer, because he grew up in Dove Creek, he came home to visit family and presented to the county commissioners about our plans for the monitoring well, and that was met with support. So at the county level, they're also in the know about this project and process. And I also wanted to share with everybody that in the process of analyzing what we know about this existing geothermal system, our geologists discovered evidence of a second geothermal system that's south of town. And many of you are probably familiar with the walking path by the beaver ponds. There's a pipe that comes out of the ground with bubbling water, and there's red water in that area. There's an old travertine mound, and travertine is the mineralized deposits that are left from hot springs. It's not active, and we can't confirm yet whether it's hot water, but it is an indicator that we may have a second geothermal system here in Rico that we're working with, which is super exciting. There's a lot more that will need to be explored with that resource to confirm whether it has any kind of viability or activity to it. And I also wanted to mention that one of our coalition members, Aaron Leos, was supported with a grant from CLEAR, the Clean Energy for the Region organization this year, to support us with a case study development that just summarizes all the work that we've been doing here in Rico and helps to put it into a comprehensive report form that's going to be posted on the Colorado Energy Office website, also on the CLEAR website, also on Tavera's website, our subsurface geoscience engineering firm. And I brought a one-page summary of that for all of you as well. And on that note, the coalition is interested in asking the town if it's a link that you would be willing to post on the town website once we have it posted on our ricogeothermal.org website, just for continuing to share education about the geothermal resource with the community. And I wanted to let you all know, in conclusion, we are now in the process of building a proactive economic model that can demonstrate the financials for what a Rico district heating network might look like, which is one of the primary uses that we're interested in exploring once we have more information from the monitoring well. And the model would include certain geothermal tax incentives that are available in Colorado, and also we would want to fold in calculations from some of the other local infrastructure projects that are on the table, such as the wastewater treatment system, to offer a more comprehensive financial path forward if the town is interested. So my question to all of you is, would you be open to hearing this economic model that we're building, so that we're not wasting your time by putting the energy into doing this? And just before you answer that question, I want to ask, what goes with that is if you're willing to just share your infrastructure plans and other engineering plans that have crossover with infrastructure, like geothermal. And let's see, anything else?
Share them with the coalition.
Yes, yes. Yeah, the hope would be that this model reduces capital costs for other infrastructure upgrades in the community, and then demonstrates lower heating costs for the town, for the residents, and may even offer a system of revenue generation for the town in the future. Wastewater, for example, requires a heating cost. Even just the depth of the trench is a consideration, and geothermal might be able to mitigate the cost completely of that heating or offset it, or even allow for a shallower trench. So those are some of the considerations when entertaining the next infrastructure upgrades with geothermal. And that's it. Thank you.
I have a quick question.
Yeah, I wouldn't sit down yet.
I just kind of had one sort of technical question. I was wondering, on the tributary, on the two types of geothermal sources,
Yeah.
are they distinct systems, or do they work together? Like, can't they, in the deeper system, become the surface system? Or are they sort of distinct systems?
Generally, they're distinct systems from my understanding.
Okay.
Yeah, the way the non-tributary, the deeper system is defined is water found in deep confined aquifers that are separated from surface water.
Okay.
And then the definition for the tributary is groundwater in an aquifer that is hydraulically connected to a natural flowing surface system.
Thanks. I get it more now. Appreciate it.
So I'd just like to clarify real quick too, when it comes to, like say, our sewer system, can you be more clear on what you're asking? Is like access to our engineers, to try to work with them, to maybe make changes and do things, or you just want the set of plans when it's done to see what we're doing?
Yeah, I think what we're interested in seeing is the work that the engineers are doing for system design and also some of the financial calculations. So we can understand how our proposed thermal energy network system might correspond and collaborate with that system, especially on the financial economic model.
Right, so, I mean, that stuff's probably a ways out yet. We realize that, right?
Yeah, and this is a ways out too,
Understood.
but I want to act.
I just want to be clear. I guess what I'm getting at is we're paying a lot of money. The engineers charge a lot of money, and we don't want to necessarily throw somebody at them to start calling them and telling them they should be doing this and this and that to accommodate something else, you know? That's not what you're asking.
No, not at all. We just want to understand what kind of work they've been doing because we can collaborate with them knowing what the scope of their project is and what they've discovered would be useful for us for the initial system design that we are also developing.
Okay. Do you see an issue with that?
No, it's all public.
Yeah, and it's already in
Packet from last
what's already
month.
done and to get published as fast as it
So I
is.
have no issues, or I don't see any issues, I should say.
Right.
How long is the monitoring process?
The monitoring well,
Yeah.
it can be 1 to 2 months. We're aiming to put the well in the ground in October and November before the ground gets too cold.
And then it'd be 1 to 2 months of monitoring?
Oh, if that's what you're asking,
Yeah,
the monitoring
that's what
process.
Yeah.
I'm not sure,
Okay.
yeah.
And then my other question was how long, like, the rights that they've secured, how long do those rights run for?
I don't know.
I wonder, and there's probably like different versions you can create or different time periods, I guess. You
I
can
mean, if it's like
select.
other water rights, it's use it or lose it. And so they will go forever as long as someone maintains that right and continues to use it.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm not saying these are exactly the same, but that's how water rights normally work.
That's my understanding too, Crystal, is the permitting, and so he's a senior water rights holder because he's applied and permitted for what he has. And you can't apply or permit until you're using the resource. So right now, no one else is using the resource.
Okay.
Yeah.
So for us to apply, for the town to apply the permit, you're asking us to think about doing,
It would
we
be,
have to use it to using a resource.
it would be in conjunction with a production well.
Okay.
So again, this is very proactive, But I just wanna put all this in front of everyone for transparency, so you understand kind of the direction we're moving in.
If the town was to apply for a permit to support a production well, is that, have a timeline on it? Is it good forever? Can we just get it just because and sit on it with no, finances or whatever prevents a production well?
Yeah, I'm not sure on that, Pat, but I do have a meeting scheduled with the Department of Water Resources next Tuesday, actually, to walk through understanding our permitting for the monitoring well, and I would be happy to ask that question.
I mean, I guess, yeah, if it would obligate, if town was to pull a permit for well, does it obligate us to move forward on it, is the question.
Yeah,
And then I know a while back you presented and one of your intentions was to have a pilot project, a structure that I thought with that was grant money that was gonna be erected. Is that something that's gotta wait till the production well is obviously in service, but,
yes.
and then do you guys still have the means to get there?
We don't have the means, but we hope to find the means. Right now, we have the means to complete a monitoring well.
Gotcha.
So all of those intentions out there are still very much something the coalition is working towards. But right now, we're trying to take it one step at a time, because the monitoring well is really gonna determine whether we should, as a community, move forward with a production well based on the capacity of the resource. And at that point, moving into a demonstration project that would have benefit for the town right away.
Okay. Scott?
Is the data, do you have any understanding of how reliable the data is for the monitoring well? Do you have any
I would assume quite good.
okay.
I mean, we have a full team of scientists and engineers who have done this for a profession for a long time, who are creating the systems for measuring.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think it's gonna be
Pretty
very,
accurate.
very strong data.
What I was asking partially is this is to put one well out of 3 possible locations. And I wondered if one well, you don't have the money for this, but if you had 3, if that would collect more data than one.
Well, certainly, yeah.
Or have a higher accuracy rate.
Well, the dream, our geologist's dream would be to put in multiple wells in the future, and maybe something that even tests the southern geothermal system, because absolutely, more wells gives more information. But right now, one monitoring well is gonna have to be what we lean on.
Sure.
And it will definitely provide stronger data than anything we have to date. Because all of the models that were created by School of Mines under Professor Masami Nakagawa prior to the geologic modeling and mapping we did last year have all been based on what's currently coming to the surface without any deeper scope of what's happening subsurfacely. And the information about the existing subsurface boreholes is really limited. And they were put in the ground back in the 70s, and it was just kind of a different mode of operating back then.
I haven't looked at your website for quite a while. Are all the documents that you were referencing, the geographic mapping and whatnot, are all those available to the public?
That's right, yes.
So this will be added to it?
It will be, yeah. We'll put this on the website, we'll put the case study on the website. We just did a few updates in May, and at the end of last year, we put our full geologic comprehensive mapping study on the website, as well as the full town survey results.
Thank you.
One last question. If the town did one, would you expect us to, would maintenance of the well be a concern about really?
Definitely,
Okay.
but it's too early in the process to even have those discussions.
Okay.
Yes, but maintenance is a big part of the conversation, which is also why we're so grateful that Dave Bolson is willing to work with us on the monitoring well piece, because he has some responsibility with us in figuring out that process.
He knows how to do some of that stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thanks. Anything else from the board for Teal? Anybody from the audience, from the public, Zoom? For Teal, I'm just gonna go ask you the questions you'd asked, and we're gonna quick show of hands and we'll get you some answers.
Okay.
All right, very good. Thank you. All right, if there's no other discussion. Question number one was regarding a link to the Rico geothermal on our town website. All in favor? All right, that's not a problem, Chauncey? All right, so you got a link on the website. Would we be open to hearing about the model, demonstrate the economics, the financials for a Rico heating district network? All in favor of that? Sure. Okay. And lastly, regarding sharing data about wastewater engineering, make it specific that it's whatever, like I mentioned earlier, it's public information, and we'd be happy to get it to you. All in favor of that?
Sure.
Right. Did that answer all your questions?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Really appreciate your time tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Sam Gill Power's up next regarding the microgrid battery location.
I feel like RP props. Evening, trustees. Mayor. Also have a couple other SMPA folks online. Paul Blora is our key accounts executive. Wiley Freeman is the manager of member services. I also want to give a special shout out to Joanna Yonder. She is your new District 3 Board of Directors representative for Rico. So I want to start out, this is kind of, I'm going to start with just kind of a summary of the whole project that we have been engaged in since March of 2023. It's been up to 3 years since we started this process. And what began the process and the project was a recognition that Rico, of the 3,600 miles of line that SMPA services, is the most difficult line that we have to service reliably because it travels up and over from Sunshine Substation over Lizard Head, crosses the river multiple times, goes through a whole bunch of vegetation, trees, avalanche chutes, etc. And as you know from living here, it's a tough line to maintain. So the outages are routine. We do our best to get to them as fast as possible. We've had 1 or 2 long outages in the past 5-10 years, but the average outage lasts less than about 3 hours generally by the time we get a crew over the pass and work on the line. So this is what was the impetus for us looking at, is there a way to find another reliable means to provide power to this location? And the alternative is to maybe bring a line in from the south out of Dolores, and currently that's an extremely expensive proposition. There's only single phase that's within like 17 miles of here, so it would be years and years and millions of dollars worth of money to look at trying to do that. So back in June of 2024, I'm going to have to read this because I'm old, we began, first off, we identified a program from DOLA that allowed us to have a, what we call a planning grant. So we got a $30K planning grant to start taking a look at the possibility of a microgrid for the town of Rico. And in that, we explored solar and storage, and we started exploring all over the valley. We talked extensively with the ARCO folks, and we were hopeful that we could put some solar in there, maybe storage up on the tailings. Turns out that property is extremely fluid, no pun intended. They're constantly moving the ponds around. They can't commit to a single location for a 20-year period, which would be likely for the system. So we refined and concluded the planning grant to suggest that only the storage component of the microgrid made any sense here for Rico in the near term. We then applied in August, we applied to DOLA, and in August of 2024, we got a generous grant award of $1.4 million to put a storage system here in Rico. So that was in August of 2024. After that, we began looking for a site for the storage system, and we looked at all places we could think of, back to the ARCO property, into the town property. Came across the folks at the Telluride School District who had put a microgrid in their school, and they had recently then annex the school here. And we thought, hey, this might be a good partnership. And so they were pretty excited about the idea that maybe we could use their school property as the site for the storage system. In September of 2025, we presented that concept as well as the location down by the park to you folks, and you gave us guidance to initially focus on the school property and kind of take that as far as we could. We hired a owner's engineering firm to begin doing the high-level design. We began looking at the property. We applied for a special use permit, presented to the planning commission. They forwarded it on up to you folks, and you guys gave us authorization to proceed with the special use permit contingent upon the fire department giving us authorization that we can satisfy any concerns they had with locating the battery at the school a block from the firehouse. We have since met with the fire department twice and presented them pretty large packages of information, a lot of study. We paid the owner's engineer to go through and do as much research as possible on the type of battery that we're going to use and what would be the implications for firefighting and fire suppression and safety. And then we eventually secured an MOU, a memorandum of understanding, whereby they authorized us placing the battery system at the school. Since then, we have also held a community power hour, we call it community meeting, where we had about 20 folks who joined us there as well. And we went through the history of the project to just explore the public feedback on the concept. And whereas the general impression was everybody's in favor of the idea of backup power for RICO, there was some disturbance over the idea of putting it on Main Street, even though we would have to, because it's a historic district, we would have to go through and install a historic facade and make it blend in, make it look like a saloon or something like that. So could have been another firehouse. We met recently with Chauncey and asked to re-explore, before we pay more money to start doing geotech work and actually proceeding. We have since gone out to bid with an energy performance, engineering procurement construction contractor. We're now under bid for a project here in Rico, also a similar project in Ridgeway of a similar size. And started doing the detailed studying, and now we're getting up to the 60–90% design. And we thought we'd take one more look at, is this really the best place to put it? We know that most folks think it's a great idea that we do this. It's going to provide a lot of value to the community, but the Main Street thing is still kind of a sticky point. One of the issues the fire department had, for example, is if we had a fire, would they have to close down 145? Because this is, based on the location, there's no place to reroute traffic. So Chauncey generously took some time to walk with us back down to the shop area there. And if you recall, for those who were here in the September 2025 meeting, one of the reasons to focus on the school was you weren't sure what the plans were going to be for the remaining spaces down there in the public works area. At that time, the water treatment plant hadn't been fully engineered. And since then, apparently it has been relatively engineered, and Chauncey walked through that, gave us access to that engineering firm. We've had discussions with them since, and we've determined that there is, in fact, a pretty decent location down there to the south of the existing, and you have this in your package, and this is a little small, but to the south of where the sewage treatment plant would be is a location that fits the footprint of the battery system without interfering with any of the wetlands over here or the river corridor. It's also not in the corridor where the black line, by the way, I'm sorry, the black line here is the actual line projected for the sewer line that would come in. So we decided to take a close look at this. We contacted the engineering firm, and one of the things that became apparent is that this would work well for our purposes. The three-phase line is right up here. The sewer treatment plant is also in these three-phase line. It's about 200 feet between here and the sewage treatment plant. And the cost of trenching and putting in a three-phase line to that point for the town is going to be about $40,000 plus or minus. That's the rough estimate. So our grant would actually pay to have that line put in all the way to the sewer plant and then the extra 7,500 feet beyond to the battery. So this is becoming a clear benefit to potentially placing the battery here rather than on Main Street, It's not a historic district, it doesn't require the same level of permitting. There's synergies between the needs of the town for bringing in power to the sewer plant, which we would bring to here, so the connection to the sewer plant would be very short. And then this would not interfere with any of the existing infrastructure or any of the other amenities of the area. So that's what we're here to talk about tonight is, and by the way, in your packet you saw, we had some renderings done, so what would it look like? Rather than looking like a saloon, it would look like a rustic fence to match the facade of the shop. There's various images. These are images of an 8-foot fence. There's an 8-foot fence, a 9-foot fence. We could build the fence high enough where you couldn't see the top of it at all. In your package, you'll see that the main components of it are these white boxes. The largest box being the storage system, then there's the inverter and the transformers and the switchgear and so forth. So tonight, what we're looking for is guidance from you about, not necessarily abandoning the school property. We're ready to go on that. If you prefer, that's where we go. We've spent a fair amount of money engineering to that location, but we're ready to switch gears because we don't want to spend any more money engineering that location and maybe switch down to here where we think this is actually, it would be a little more expensive for SMPA. The grant will absorb some of that, and again, it will absorb some of the costs of bringing power to the sewer plant. And then place the battery system down here. The next thing we would do after you give us guidance to, a green light on this is we'll go back to the fire department, rediscuss this location, get their authorization, revise the MOU, which is one of the things you would ask for to begin with, and then proceed to finish the design and go out for procurement. We also at the time had mentioned that we had a time limitation of June 2026 in order to use the grant. Fortunately, that got extended in the state house, and Polis signed it recently, so we now have an extension to go proceed and put it on the same timeline track as the Ridgeway system, which means we have till mid-2029 to complete the project. So we got a big reprieve there, and we're happy about that. And with that, I'll take any questions.
I have one. Chauncey, can you explain to the audience and anybody else, where are we talking? I mean, I know it's in the bottom, but.
Yeah, south of the public works facility, and it's kind of past where the mulch pile is.
Here's the town shop. Here's the town
You
shop.
can't see that, Alex. You can't see. That's not gonna help either.
Town shop, south. Would not interfere with the sewage plant. Depending upon the timing of the build out of this, or bringing the trench in for the electric, it's possible we could lay the sewer line in that same trench. And for that matter, geothermal, if it made sense, 3 infrastructures in one trench. We've looked at, can you lay electric line in with a sewer line, and the answer is yes, separated with so many inches. So there's a lot of cost savings associated with this location.
It looks like in this drawing that the footprint of the fence is 45 by 85,
Roughly.
with quite a bit of space inside. Is that just the envelope that this equipment requires?
There are code safety requirements for proximity to a metal structure from all the equipment. And that's an estimate. Once we get this location approved, we'll get down to the nitty gritty, and it may change by a few feet either way. Most likely smaller, not larger.
Also, I'm not sure what this larger rectangle represents on this engineering drawing.
That's a ghost. That's a leftover from when we had the school thing. In the hurriness to get something tonight, that unfortunately is residual, but that.
It created a bit of a panic just at first.
Yeah,
Now
it
that
did
I
for us
look
too, once
closer, it's like, that's too much space, sorry. Okay, thank you for clarifying those. And I will say, I appreciate that in this memo, the resiliency, the backup power period has been expanded 4 to 6+ hours. I know that you were fairly conservative when this was first presented, saying 4 hours of backup power and resiliency for RICO. I think it's much more attractive when we imagine that it could be 4 to 6 or more, depending on what our.
Well, and to clarify that, that's based on the peak load. So if it happens during a non-peak time, it's even more hours. The other thing I forgot to point out is that we'll be able to back up a sewer treatment plant with this as well. So we built enough capacity in the power portion of the system to handle the load growth. And we weren't sure at the time what load growth would look like, but it's designed to handle the power as well as the energy requirements over that 4 to 6 hours of the treatment plant. you
Is
know,
there a way
with
to-
details to be, you know, finalized.
Is there a way to utilize these to prioritize essential services like the wastewater treatment plant or the cell phone tower, the internet building, things like that?
Great question. And it came up with the fire department as well, so cell phone towers right there. Prioritizing the sewage treatment plant, absolutely, because it's right there, so we can put a switch there. Prioritizing the cell tower, a little more difficult, because what we have to do is isolate an entire line, and that means if it's possible, we'd have to install some switches. It may be possible, but probably a better alternative for prioritizing that is working with the fire department to get their own backup generator, or maybe another microgrid grant to put a small, you know, what we call a critical load battery system right there for that load. But meanwhile, the whole town, including the cell tower, would be under that coverage umbrella 4 to 6 plus hours, depending upon time of year. The peak load is, of course, in the middle of winter, right? And of course, that's when we had a lot of outages as well, so it's designed for that. But originally it was 4 hours, and we upped the size of the system to achieve the 4 plus hour point. And on an average load, rather than a peak load, it might be 8 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And that's based on today's usage.
Today's usage.
The town should double in the next 10 years. We can probably count on 2 to 3 hours.
Potentially, yeah, I mean, to be determined.
Terry and members of the board, may I talk about some public safety power shut-off information? That's probably pertinent right now.
I can't hear you. You need to come up and talk.
Okay, Terry, is it okay if I
Sure.
talk about
Yeah,
this?
absolutely.
Yes, I think this is something we should
Came
all
up in the annual
be
meeting.
thinking about, talking to our neighbors about. This is not privileged information to SMPA at all. This is public, but I just think that more of us need to be speaking about it. Right now, it's what's called PSPS, Public Safety Power Shutoffs. And San Miguel Power Association is the only rural electrical cooperative in Colorado to have not experienced a significant PSPS thus far in the state. So you may have heard about Xcel Energy turning off power for up to 48 hours to enormous parts of the Front Range, Boulder, Longmont.
Evergreen area, the foothills, yeah.
Yeah, so this is something that has been discussed very broadly at SMPA, and I think it's something that we all need to understand is coming for us. And then please correct me if I'm wrong, because I am new, and I'm speaking, by the way, as a citizen for this, but this is just something that I heard at the last
For the moment,
SMPA.
she's gonna be climbing the curve.
I'm new, I don't wanna overstep, but this is something that Tri-State, our generation and transmission provider, is not obligated to tell SMPA about before it happens.
Oh.
SMPA, and therefore us, we are SMPA, may not hear about this until our power is off.
And
Basically,
this
no warning.
would then kick in, this would not be
No,
part
it
of
wouldn't
the
be.
outage, so.
This would be our storage.
So this is kind of an impetus, thanks, Joanna. This is more impetus for having the battery here is that we learned, and it was broadcast to the public during our last annual meeting by the CEO, and this is how Joanna picked up on this, is that we were informed by Tri-State, our generation and transmission supplier of most of our electricity, that this summer there may be, you know, unannounced rolling outages. And that could happen in the future. If we had the battery here, that wouldn't affect you for the 4 to 6 hours.
And just for clarification, those public safety outages are to prevent fires,
Wildfires,
wildfires.
in the Front Range, it was because of a big wind event, and they were just being, because of the huge, I can't remember the name of the fire that burned down that whole subdivision, or that area, Louisville area. Marshall Fire, yeah.
Are these outages though, they're like, these rollouts are like for 24, 48 hours, 36 hours,
To
right?
be determined. Basically, I think what they're trying to do is ride through a wind event for the most part. You know, if it's a red flag, dry, you know, all the usual conditions, they may be preemptive. And part of it is CYA, you know, it's a liability for them if they have fire and all of a sudden you're facing gigantic lawsuits.
And we're talking about weather events that are not necessarily occurring here, but occurring somewhere else in the transmission that's much upstream from
It
us.
may trickle down to SMPA's territory. That's what we were just informed about, and which was announced at the annual meeting. I don't have any more detail on it than that, other than heads up, you know, the climate change is gonna throw a wrench in things, or could potentially. To Joanna's point, we haven't experienced that yet. I don't know why. I don't know. Maybe we've got lucky money in the table. I have no idea what. Yes, sir.
Special payments.
Are you asking your engineers to design this battery system so that it could be added onto if our demand went up, that we could either get more hours of power or at least 4 hours of power once the town is built out. So is it gonna be modular so you could just add another bank of batteries?
It has the potential to do that. Currently, the grant only gives us the ability to
Right.
size it to the original grant specifications. But the main units, you know, if we use a Tesla, it's a Tesla Mega Pack, they're just plunk another one down and doubles the size. There's limited increments. You can't just go 25% more, you pretty much have to go a big chunk more. But that would just mean expanding the fence line and paralleling the two battery systems together and upsizing the transformer. So yeah, the possibility is there, but it's not currently in the design. But I will bring that to the engineers to, you know, put that on the radar. It's like, what does it take to make it expandable ready?
In that vein, do resiliency grants ever cover like residential solar incentives? Because if we make the whole town a solar array just using our roofs, then we don't need a new battery, we're just continue like
Well,
to
recall
build
the
up.
solar will not operate unless you have batteries in your house. So I have batteries and solar at my house. The typical solar system is called a line-tied solar system. It requires it has to be connected to the grid, has to see the frequency, the voltage of the grid to even operate. One thing I might have mentioned in one of the previous meetings is all of the folks in town that have solar or any future solar will contribute to the microgrid and expand the time.
That's what I'm specifically saying is then invite or incentivize more people to then be a part of that array to then feed our batteries.
If based on the midterms or a new administration, they bring back the solar credits, and they did away with them. In fact, we got the battery system under the wire, and we had to do what's called the safe harbor. We had to basically make a reservation for that incentive in the grant and the federal incentive. But yeah, they did away with the residential solar investment tax credit and the residential battery tax credit, I believe. I'm not positive about that. But yeah, the more solar, the better, both from an individual homeowner's use as well as they literally become a contributor to the microgrid. They become part of the microgrid. And unlike a typical outage, when the line goes down, their solar system goes down, during an outage, once the battery is up, if they produce more solar than their house uses, their meter continues to give them credit for it during an outage. And that's pretty interesting side effect.
Terry, kind of adjacent to that, this is something that a lot of citizens have really asked about that they would probably love to hear addressed officially from SMBA. If this battery is indeed all of the time storing extra power and then potentially giving that power back into the direct community during on-peak hours, which I believe is one of the, designated positive side effects of having a storage system within the community. Is that power being sold to RECO users at the same rate as any peak power?
Good question, and it's something I failed to bring up. One of the other operation modes for the battery system.
Can you repeat the question? Simplify, repeat the question, I can't hear, sorry.
I'll go back to her question, but I want to preempt it with another explanation. The battery system is also going to be monetized, meaning that when we're going to sign up for a program through Tri-State where they can dip into the battery bank during times of our approval and take some of the energy out during peak, and that will offset the local, basically it'll lower the load of the RECO line, and we'll get demand savings that will help maintain some cost control over future rate increases. So we're going to be able to actually receive financial value out of the battery when it's not being used as a backup system. However, we'll have guardrails on there that if we know that there's a storm coming, if we know that there's some potential outage, if they know that there's some potential outage, then we're not going to let them dip in there. But when they dip in there, they give us a financial credit for the power that we put on the line. And then we would maintain, a healthy reserve in the battery and only let them take so much out of it so that we're still prepared for an outage. So we'd never let them tap the whole battery, maybe 50% possibly, but only during times when we don't anticipate there being an outage.
So could you store non-peak hours and sell it back to our community at peak hours for non-peak prices? That's an actual savings to the people here.
Yeah, there's no mechanism for that right now, and we can explore that, but basically what it does is just lowers the overall bill of SMPA. If we can put energy back on the grid during peak, it lowers the monthly demand charge that we get, so that it's a cost savings, which will help reduce pressure on rates. It's not so much about savings as much as trying to keep the rates from going up. But there is no specific financial advantage to RICO or Ridgeway for that matter for that energy. It just goes right onto transmission, or it just eats some of the load. So let's just say this is gonna be a 1 megawatt battery. If we allow them to take 500 kilowatts out at any time, they give us credit for that. What it does is it offsets 500 kilowatts of load here, although the load here is not 500 kilowatts, it's about 250 to 350 kilowatts. So it'll help reduce the bills to SMPA essentially, which eventually, helps us as members, but it's spread as a co-op. Co-op socializes all savings and all costs, so that's the co-op model.
I had a question regarding the alternate site from the school area down to the town maintenance area. Is that in the floodplain, and does it matter?
It's a great question. No, it's not, surprisingly. We checked on it. Chauncey gave us the floodplain maps, and that's one of the things we'd have to make sure it's engineered not to be in. And if there's mitigation measures associated with raising it up and putting it on an elevated pad, and that's all going to be part of the final engineering. And of course, the building permit itself has a number of contingencies that we have to meet. And we're right at the point of applying for the building permit for the fire department location, but we decided to hold off until this meeting before we proceed.
The new proposed location is in pretty close proximity to the river, though. Is that a concern? It's my understanding that, God forbid, I know it's rare, but if there was a fire, it's probably gonna take every drop of water town has in our water system to put on it, and from there, it's going straight into the river direct,
It's a good question. The answer is we don't use water on a fire for this kind of battery. So the manufacturer recommends not putting any water on it. The only water that would be used, which would have been an issue for the fire department, the school location, is to protect nearby structures. And since there won't be any nearby flammable structures, likely the recommended procedure is one, it's got 3 levels of self-protection. It immediately turns itself off if it senses heat. 2, if it sees any outgassing of flammable gases, it burns those it's got a ventilation system. And then 3 has internal fire suppression built into the container. And if all of those things fail and there's a failure, and the failure rate over time, and this is what we presented in the fire department, has gone down exponentially from 3 years ago. In fact, there was only 4 battery fires in the entire country in the year of 2024. And those were on gigantic utility systems that had hundreds of these things. And they were able to contain it without any water. So it's a great question, and that would be something we work with the fire department to get their buy-in on the potential for runoff. And they were concerned about it here, and we addressed it at that time with them as well.
So with that being said, right now, there are no surrounding structures, so it would prevent being able to put surrounding structures in what proximity?
Well, I don't have a clear answer. We would have to see what the recommended perimeter is for a fire, but generally speaking, where we were going to put it, the nearby structure was the school and its brick, of course, with some cedar shakes and stuff. The Telluride school microgrid, which is about a quarter the size of this, is located 10 feet from the school. So the level of sophistication with the built-in fire suppression is such that code has now reduced the severity or the concern over nearby structures. But it's a good point, and we can get you an answer to that question. I just don't have it handy yet. It's going to be maintained within a metal fence.
We mentioned that we didn't know what we still don't know what we're going to do down there. We got a better idea where the wastewater treatment plant goes, and we are here to think about the future as well as now. 25 years, who knows? The town could certainly be much larger and in need of a lot of things that we're not projecting yet. One of my concerns, a lot of that land down there that the town does own.
Skateboard Park Phase 2, man.
I mean, there's gonna be courthouses and a marshal's annex and a dog catcher and who knows what, all the things a normal society has. That's all I'm saying.
One of the beauties of that location, from our perspective, is that it's consistent with town infrastructure. This is infrastructure to provide reliable electricity to the town. And you're working with us with a lease that we'll work out with the staff, is bringing in reliable, helping bring in, like you have sewer, like you have public works. These are infrastructure sites. It's an infrastructure site, it seems consistent, especially compared to the school property. That's not a very big infrastructure site.
And that lead, oh, go ahead, Tim, sorry. Can't see you behind the board.
Yeah. I just wanna say, thank you so much, Terry, for all the legwork that you've done on this. I've been following this project since you've been putting it in front of the town. And I'm so grateful to SMPA as a whole for listening to the community and the concerns about the location on Main Street and putting in the extra effort to get this extension with your grant and consider another location. I think it sounds awesome. And I shared a statistic back in January when we were at a meeting together about 43% of residents through our geothermal survey expressed that they don't have a resilient heating system if we lose power. And so I think it's just really meaningful to be taking into consideration the needs of our neighbors. Another stat from our geothermal survey, when we asked about putting in geothermal thermal energy network system in conjunction with other excavation for infrastructure, we had 78% support from surveyors of wanting to see infrastructure overlap when there's excavation happening. So this opportunity to collaborate with the wastewater system and streamline things in this industrial corridor, it just makes a lot of sense, and I'm really grateful for the work that you've done.
Thanks. Yeah, I think there's a lot of synergies between these three infrastructure projects, sewer, water, and the geothermal heating network. Where possible, depending on the timing, we can make hay out of that.
You mentioned a lease for this location. Does that cover the entire life cycle of this infrastructure? So you said a 20-year lifespan.
Yeah, that's the projected, that's the actual grant lifetime that we have to commit to. So yeah, it would be a 20-year lease for that space.
So you're obligated to either upgrade or remove, renegotiate that lease. Okay. So it's not like we're just going to be dealing with that.
And removing to the original loss of words. Conditions. Thank you. Is also a condition of the building permit.
So as currently, SMPA is a licensee, well, it's not a licensee, but the town has allowed you to run your lines and whatnot.
Franchise.
Is that, does that coverage cover this, or would there be any additional need for permissions from the town to build this in this location?
I'm not very clear on that. I'm pretty sure all the money we collect with the franchise fee gets turned right back over to the town, so we're just a pass-through for that in exchange for having the easement right away to put the lines in. And of course, this line will be underground. There wouldn't be an overhead, so it would be coming right down that street next to the pavilion and past the future treatment plant. So, and that's the potential advantage. We could potentially, depending on the timing, put the sewer pipes in there, put the district heating pipes in that same trench. And that'd be ideal because trenching is expensive.
I have a lot of questions, sorry.
Good.
We have had some other community members asking about electric vehicle charging, like public electric vehicle charging stations in town. Would that new three-phase line make the parking lot there for the park a good location for one of those?
For a level 3 charger, that's a good point. Yeah, it could be. Because we'll have that three-phase right there and the line will cross the road, so that's a good potential location.
Well, there's a park
if
with
there's
a
grants available.
restroom and,
Yeah.
I mean, it's close to maybe going to the Enterprise for lunch or something.
And there's a three-phase, level 3 charger going in at Ridgeway as a result of a grant that has nothing to do with SMPA. Same with Silverton, got a grant to do that. I think Uray has one now. The level 3 chargers, which are the fast chargers.
Which is like, has been actually kind of above and beyond what, it was Alan who's been emailing me about this. And I don't think he even explored the idea of a level 3 just because that infrastructure can be really challenging. But this in my mind, could be a really good location and a good opportunity to
For level
overlap
two,
another
sure.
synergistic infrastructure item.
Well, we might be able to, look into, can we leverage that in the grant and drop a, or look for other grants for like level twos. There's a program called the Charge Ahead, it's a state program that funds the level two charges. In fact, I think it funded the charge you might have had in town here for a while.
Yeah, let's not bring that one up. That's not how we're gonna get a new charger in. We're kind of a dead zone when it comes to electric vehicle charging. It's really challenging, I think, for folks, especially because 550 was prioritized as the corridor for the EV network, and that closes a lot. And we are the alternative route for when that closes, whether it's for, winter, maintenance or avalanche or whatever else is happening over there. And for a while it was doing the maintenance and the new line for electricity. So it just felt like kind of an oversight to not have something in our community.
Yeah, it's a great idea.
I do believe the gas station is looking into it,
Great.
which is, to me, the most logical explanation. The town doesn't sell gas for people, why do we sell electricity to put in your car?
Oh, it wouldn't necessarily be the town's to manage or own, but
No,
I'm just saying that would be a very good
The one that's
location.
going at Ridgeway and Silverton is owned and operated by a third party that applied for and got the grant. They're doing all the work, paying for all the transformer upgrades and all that kind of stuff.
We're just like an economic driver pad, if people see a place that they can drive through.
I understand.
Well, honestly, a park is so ideal. You get out, you walk the dog, you use the restroom.
We need a big sign that says, escaping charge or something.
I think you get something.
So you have the land use code,
No big signs.
no big signs.
I have a couple quick questions. At the very beginning, you said that the line is 3,600 miles.
SFPA has 3,600 miles of line in their whole territory.
Thank you. And then, one quick thing, can you remember the 40,000 savings again?
The quick thumbnail, I did this calculation, I was sitting there, roughly $200 a foot to bring in a three-phase line, including trenching. And from the drawing, it appears it's 200 feet, so that's $40,000. So if we weren't putting a battery there, your sewer treatment plant would have to bring in that three-phase power. So it could potentially be this is an estimate, so don't hold me to it, but it could be a $40,000 savings on the sewer treatment plant budget.
And my last question was, I was really curious about the fire thing too, because I like the idea of doing it down here instead of school. And then when I looked at the design, right away, I saw the river. And then, thanks for explaining that you wouldn't put it out in the conventional manner. But I wanted to mention the other thing, when I looked up I was kind of curious about what could happen, or if it had happened. And there's not many examples of issues. But the other source of poison to the river besides the direct runoff is particulate matter. Do any of the three systems you have in place to fight a fire create particulates that would then land in the river and create like an alkaline base?
Great question. All the data that we presented to the fire department identified the magnitude of the fire in this, and the anecdote for this is it's like a cannon that just burns itself to the ground, is that there would be a similar kind of particulate given off as a typical Class A house fire. So it wouldn't be any different than a structure fire of a house. So in terms of the toxicity
Small house?
Class A.
Okay.
Medium-sized house.
Medium-sized house.
So I just got one more question. There's been no mention of compensation. I'm assuming that the compensation to the town for giving up that size of a lot is simply the backup power. Is that the
To be
intention?
determined, it could be that it's in exchange for bringing in 40,000 miles of electric lines in. I mean, we haven't begun any negotiation on the lease. Obviously, to make the project cost effective, a no to low cost lease is ideal. We don't have any lease costs in the Ridgeway system. We're actually looking, at one point we talked to Dave Olson about putting it down there. He wanted a payment that just the project couldn't afford for an annual lease cost. So ideally it's $0, but nonetheless we have haven't even begun that process. So we'll entertain things with Chauncey, and it'll obviously have to come before you to approve the lease on it, I think.
I mean, I, wanted to put that
Could be
for the board, if that was something the board, thinks that the town should get, then we should probably get that, off the table as quick as possible, I don't wanna keep leading you along, I know we've had words put in our mouth as we went along about how we said this, or we told you to go to the school, which hasn't been the case, I just want everybody to understand how this works, and if we do send you away from here saying, let's keep talking about this, and, a lease is coming up, right? I mean, it's compensation part of that lease, and we don't agree to that, then everything falls apart again. I want it to work, so the more we understand now and get off the table, the better chances of it all working in the end.
Is there a just to address that real quick, the school, we were gonna do a lease for them at no cost. So that was, obviously, to make it cost effective and operating, that's the floor or ceiling.
Do you have an idea what your construction cost would have been there compared to what it would be down there?
Not quite sure, because there we had to deal with historic district requirements, which includes facades and things. Here we have a long line extension. There, the line is right there on the corner. So there's a trade-off, and we haven't done the tit for tat comparison.
So, I mean, I would imagine, just a guess, throwing it out there, it's probably $200,000 or $300,000 to build something like that on Main Street. And I mean, I think lots that size in town are listed for 200,000, are not moving real fast, but that's what people want for them. Just numbers I'm throwing out there. I mean, honestly, I think the whole thing's great, and if the board wants to give land away, give land away, but, I think compensation in the range of $100,000 would be super fair for that, and if we could take that money up front and use it for a community-oriented project that'll go back to the community in lieu of giving their land away, but if the simple backup power is compensation enough, then so be it.
Yeah, I guess I disagree with you, Pat. I'm looking at this microgrid as just part of the infrastructure that the power company needs to provide a service to the town. And if we came up with a lease of $1 a year for the next 20 years, I would be happy with that.
I have a question about access and maintenance of that road. Of course, if there is a wastewater plant further down the road from it, we would be maintaining that access for our own purposes. Until that point, what are your access needs? It snows here a lot sometimes, not all the time, but.
There's no routine maintenance associated with it. There's typical checkups. Most of it is monitored remotely. The switching is remote, so we'll have a full understanding of the condition of the system without having to visit it. If there was a fire, God forbid, then we would have to access it to help, just to prove it's de-energized for the fire department. We can de-energize it remotely. But we, fire departments, our linemen always like to see it firsthand that there's an open switch. But generally speaking, there's no routine maintenance or routine access. And if it happened before you had the need to maintain access to the sewer, then we would get it to clear the roads and maintain access.
Okay, yeah, that's where I was going, was just as far as costs are associated on an annual basis, if our
And that's
maintenance
typical
costs
of
would
all
be.
of our electric infrastructure. We have to maintain access to it.
Does it create kind of a heat map? Is it warm, does it create a heat map?
No, it's all self-contained and it's ventilated. And same, I'm going to answer your question about noise. The noise is similar to the sound of a flushing toilet at 3 feet. So it's just the vent fans when it's operating at full power outage. So, the only time it's really going to produce any audible.
It's only during discharge, not during charging?
Very, very light, almost like an air conditioner. There's inverters in there that have little cooling fans in them. So similar to a home HVAC system, within 3 to 5 feet. Of course, the fence perimeter already pushes you out 15 feet away from where the equipment is.
I will say, I went and toured the facility in Telluride when we first heard about all of this.
Joanna, can you come up if you're gonna?
Oh yeah, I'm sorry, you guys, my voice is not as loud as
Always
theirs.
wants to sit
And
in the
I
back row.
remember you Garish had questions about the sound concerns. And that was actually something I was very curious about as well, because they say some things about decibel levels and you're like, is this gonna be a big noisy manufacturing level sound? So we went and toured the one at the facility in Telluride, right behind the school. And the sound that emanates from it, like, do you hear the tiny hum of like the bands in here? It was like that.
Yeah, I
You
went,
had to be like
I went to
listening
the school
for it.
and looked at it too.
But that's not during like peak discharging.
Correct, so when it is in peak discharge, it's about the sound of like an air conditioner. So it's not a loud, continuous manufacturing level hum, it's like inaudible at normal levels, and when at full peak usage, it's like a fan.
You can't hear it over the skateboards.
You wouldn't hear it over the
And
river.
the fans are on the top, so the noise goes up.
Yeah.
You know, at
It
90
was-
high.
It was indiscernible to me.
I think noise is less of a concern at this particular location compared to the other proposed location, in my mind, so.
And we have to comply with the building permit sound requirements, so it will meet the building permit, identified decibel levels.
Well, it's my understanding that community members are interested in having this in our community. I think it is an important service that we can provide as a town without having to write a check, which I think is lovely. But I know that a lot of people just had concerns about it being on Main Street, so I think this could be a really good way to, I guess, assuage those concerns, but also, satisfy their concerns about outages. I mean, it can be very inconvenient and sometimes unsafe if it's for those folks that don't have the redundant heating. That's my stance.
I have a quick question. It's kind of just a sort of silly question in a way, but what's the weight, what's the waste it creates? I mean, yeah, to create the power that it does, like coal creates smoke or
No.
a sewage treatment plant,
Right.
to do its job,
Yeah.
is there any waste that we're not thinking about or know about that it generates?
No, there's no waste. There is a round trip inefficiency, meaning that the number of kilowatt hours in is different than the kilowatt hours out.
Okay.
No, batteries are 100% efficient.
Right.
So it uses a little bit of electricity when it's charging.
Okay.
So it burns a little electricity, which doesn't create waste here, it creates waste in Craig, the coal plant.
But nothing we call, other than the noise and visual, nothing we call pollution.
No,
In a conventional sense.
It doesn't outgas
Yeah, okay,
unless there's a fire or something.
right, which is extremely low.
Right.
Thank you.
Alex?
All great questions.
Just want to say I'm hugely supportive of the project. I think that having backup power and having three-phase service brought down to a super convenient location is a great service to get in exchange for a lease. I think it is really tidy to have all of that infrastructure in one place, really convenient, and then it gets rid of a lot of issues of having to do maintenance around homes or businesses. I think it's really tidy, and I like the new location idea.
Anybody else? I'm just gonna ask a couple questions to the board and then we'll get some direction here. So I guess number one is, would the board like to see this happen somewhere other than the school location?
Yes.
Yes.
General consensus of people that I have talked to, which hasn't been that many so far, but, yeah, people were not happy about it being on Main Street.
So then,
And historic.
how amenable are we to what's being proposed as far as at least letting San Miguel and Chauncey start working on a lease that's gonna, with the understanding that there's more information we need to see before we finalize anything, as I'd said, a lease agreement, or are there any other questions that the board would like answered between now and when that gets presented, or to come with the next meeting where we might finalize things? Anything that we mentioned was not available now as far as information goes that can be gotten to us, just so, like I said, we're gonna do it. I don't wanna come back and have a bunch of questions that we could have asked now, even if it's a matter of getting the answers later.
I asked my $1 million any questions, so I am satisfied.
I mean, I never leave one of these meetings without going home thinking of 10 more questions I should ask, so it could happen. So I just want to be very clear on how this process might work out in the future, and I think, you know, it sounds like we're gonna move ahead with, if that's San Miguel's preference, then Chauncey can start looking into it. I'd like to know about liability. If it's our land and there's somebody else's stuff on it, whether it's environmental, I mean, I believe you, there's no environmental hazards with it. I'd rather have our lawyer tell us that, or a lawyer, et cetera. So I trust in you, Chauncey, to cover the town's butt on those kind of things and have that information available for us when the lease agreement comes to fruition. Make sense?
Yeah, and I'd say if we think of any questions, we can always ask Chauncey to try to get an answer
You
for us
can,
later. So
Chauncey's available to answer all the questions you have. So it's a lot better as a board if we handle it all together, as with anything, right? So we're welcome to go see Chauncey anytime, but something like this, if we have questions now that we need answers to later, please speak your piece now, that's all I'm saying. Doesn't sound like there is though. If there is, you'll hear about it.
Well, I want to thank the trustees. You've worked with us now for almost 3 years on this. We understand your concerns and questions. We need this as a partnership with Town of Rico. This is our SCPA's chance to further improve the quality of life. So it's part of our cooperative mission to do this. Thanks a bunch.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks for taking the time.
Yep, thank you, and everybody.
I've got a 6-month-old puppy.
Oh. No, you brought him in.
Yeah, the puppy would have really sweetened the deal.
Don't forget the puppy.
Missed opportunity.
All right, Chauncey, would you like to tell us what's going on with the big cup these days?
Yeah. Most everything summarized in the memo. They did respond about the concern of O&M, construction duties for those best management practices that were proposed at last month's meeting, and said no concerns with that. They probably can use a contractor to potentially help with the install and the remediation efforts in those areas, who's working at the St. Louis site, and then they have employed the Tri-Hydro in town that are monitoring that site that'll be available to replace and upgrade wattles as needed if they still fail. So I think that addressed that concern. Waiting on an access agreement that the board will need to approve to authorize them to conduct the work in the town right away, which is, I don't know if serendipitous is the right word, but somewhat serendipitous with what we've seen in grading. Hopefully people are able to access that link and see those materials. I can pull them up if needed. But there's just been through routine maintenance efforts of grading in a depth of 0 to 2 inches, materials that look indicative of mine waste, the color and what actually is the substrate of it. So in this access agreement, they also want to contemplate sampling in these areas to just get a better baseline of where we're at. So I think that would be beneficial to the town to provide access for these best management practices. That's the direction the board wants to go. In addition, also in that access agreement, allowing them the ability to sample within town right-of-ways. Pretty noticeable contamination through the efforts of the county's grading. So to help set a baseline, valve cans, water line has a valve, we need to access that to shut it off. There's a lid, it's buried at a depth of like 3 to 4 inches generally in the town. Some spots a little shallower, some spots deeper. So the direction of the county is to grade and prep in the 0 to 2 inch range. Through doing that, we saw streaks of contamination down Argentine Alley, starting behind the Peter Cafe approximately, going to about where the cottages are. We resurfaced that in prep of this, so no contamination shown there. And we've also seen issues on River Street, close to the bridge where grading efforts were. West Rico now is another area that was originally not slated as contaminated in the original testing either. So we're just starting to really see these issues come to surface in certain areas in the community. So having sampling and a baseline, I think, would be advantageous to the board in terms of the next, what the town's position is and how we move forward in this. Because obviously there needs to be some sort of resolve in just these best management practices. I think one option that I've been thinking about a lot and speaking with our soil management contractor slightly, is like, do we look at proposing a chip seal across all of town, hardscaping the streets, and just sealing it in? The effort there, not removing 12 inches and disturbing people through the construction of the road remediation in front of their lot, but surfacing so that there's no dust or contamination that can come up. Obviously, there's some maintenance, and I think based on our average daily traffic through here, we did counters a couple years ago, 30 to 40 cars a day on some of our busier roads. That chip seal will probably be a 15-year life, so then the question would be, A, do they want to even have the conversation? It was never discussed. It was discussed once, and that was punted back for like. What would be the long-term solution for ongoing reapplication if needed? So that was just one thing I was thinking about. Obviously, getting a sample or access agreement in place for these best management practices in areas with steeper grade and where we're seeing contaminants come through in stormwater channels is really important, but now we're starting to see it come up in areas of just right of way in the travel way and not within the channels from the sheet flow that we're seeing. So just some concepts for the board to kind of think about. I know those photos were available and there's some video I want to say in that. I don't know what direction the board wants to go. We obviously think that from the conversations I've had with AR, there's been more gravity or seriousness behind this because of what we're seeing, but there hasn't been a concession on their behalf to say, hey, we're willing to pop 1G resampling as originally requested by the board of trustees a couple months ago. We're still in a little bit of a limbo right now. You're gonna sample, the last thing in that memo is they'll be out here probably second week of July. It's about 10 properties to sample. There are people interested. If they can get an access agreement in the next week or two, they can be added to the sampling crews list. They'll be here for about a week. And then there should be, don't know like the numbers behind the memo, there's some remediation agreements that have come in, and I believe there's intent to start some remediation this year on a few lots that are not as directly impacted with the street and grade and drainage issues and potential overflow contamination or sheet flowing onto private properties. So I think there's 4 or 6 properties that they've gotten remediation agreements from that they're potentially pursuing remediation this year on as well.
I feel like we just did this a couple months ago, and we brought it up to them, and we got nowhere. They said, no, it's okay, don't worry about it. And we know it's everywhere, we've known it's everywhere. I mean, can we sample and send our own samples away and at least have all that information, or obviously we're not bound to use their sampling?
Yeah, we have our soil management contractor who's on board. He's a licensed PE, and he fits the qualifications in the B-Cup work plan to conduct sampling on the town's behalf. So if the board wants to engage, we can have him out there sampling right away and sending it out to labs to be tested and then doing on the back end and do our own sampling. I think it'd be really valuable to get someone here pretty near term to sample materials that are currently on the surface that show vibrant oranges in them.
We can go around and scratch it or a little bit off the surface and show anybody who wants to see it where it's at. I know where it's at, staff knows where it's at. I mean, we're just agree to sweep it under the rug like we've been doing, or we actually do something about it, but we've been beating around the bush for too long, so it's a board decision whether they just.
I would like to see an independent sample taken, honestly. You know,
Probably
I mean, this is something that we have.
Analysis from years ago.
I know, but I mean, I just, you know,
use that
I'm
to
just
go
talking
find it.
about with all this stuff that's come to the surface now, just an idea. I mean, like you're saying, agreed, we know where all this stuff is. I'd like to see this new findings as well, but I really think that, you know, just, I mean, how much is it gonna cost us? It's not that much, but at least to have evidence backing our, you know, again, there's many escape routes from this contract if they are not presenting us with adequate information or cherry picking where they're gonna sample, you know what I mean? So, I don't know, I would, my opinion is, I think we have the money to do it, we should do
Our
it.
last sampling exercise when Geosyntec did it to do some data verification. That was isolated to 10 spots they sampled on behalf of the town. They were subbed through Kaplan Kirsten Rockwell, so Tom Bloomfield's firm. I think that sampling exercise is about $7,000, but there's mobilization costs and all these things. We have a local person in Dolores who can come up. We have a good hourly rate through our B-Cup on call with them. I can easily task them to come up, take pictures and document it the same way they would in the terms of the work plan, and have our own sample data, make the composite, do everything in, how to be expected, and be able to come back with our own data. If the board wants to do that, happy to coordinate the next day.
I don't know how you guys feel, but I think it's money well spent.
I think it would strengthen our argument and just how serious we are about this.
I don't know, we're watching them.
I think it's tough because, to me, in a lot of these photos and videos, you do see the orange and you see the streaking, but it's obviously not consistent all the way across. So in order to, I guess, correctly sample and capture all of that everywhere where it's not exposed would be really difficult. So now that it's exposed and we have this opportunity to document it, I think that's a great idea.
Perhaps we have a work session and we can go out with some picks and shovels and I can show you all about it. Alex, what do you got?
I'll just give a quick comment if that's right. I've been thinking about this since reading the packet. Is that all right? So I've been an AR contractor for, I guess with BPR, probably 13 years now. I have no involvement in any of the V-Cup stuff, and I don't want to, I won't touch it. But here's my comments as just somebody who lives here in town. Since the V-Cup conversation restarted around 2018, an entire generation of kids have come up. It's a slow and painful process, and it will only get tougher. On my walk over here, 2 toddlers were racing their bikes up and down the street, free of dust, because of the interim dust control. 3 years ago, they would have been choking on dust. Today, they're just ripping down the street, no dust. So thank you guys so much for coming to consensus on that solution to the issue. I hope the trustees can continue to be solution-oriented with the sole goal of mitigating lead exposure as fast as you can. I agree that there are road segments which have visible mine waste but aren't on the list of segments above action level. But, for myself, I'm not willing to bet that I could design a transect or grid sampling plan that would pick up all of those pockets. Part of it is just the nature of mine waste and how it's deposited around town. It's heterogeneous, it's hit or miss. So my suggestion is to leverage, you have a town soil advisor who's paid for by AR. You have town staff time that my understanding is for this kind of stuff reimbursed by AR. You have access to an XRF. When these things come up, just go ahead and hit it, zap it with the XRF, send a sample off to the lab, and then just add it to the list and just keep moving. Like let's move in a forward direction rather than, each month it's a new problem, you go back, then it's another month. Like just add it to the list and keep going. And the easiest way to do that is if you have numbers. So when you see that kind of stuff, if you have your own XRF, if you have access to the one over there, you get somebody over, you get a test result immediately. If it was set up, you could have done that last week and had some results. If they're above action level, then at least from my understanding, then maybe now that road segment is above action level. So the thing is, you're gonna keep running into these pockets all over the place, and you know where some of them are. Denny probably knows better than anybody where these things are. So try and figure out what you can, understand you're not gonna find all of it, and be ready to, when equipment's out here, taking care of roads, get as much as you can. And when you come up with new stuff, my understanding is that the kind of phased approach to this is there will be chances to take care of new areas as they come up. Again, the key point there just being like, yeah, you can take photos and then take a month to deal with it, but if you just get a result and it's above action level, now it's above action level. The other key point is just you're going to find more issues as the work starts. The key thing is to be solution-oriented to get this done. In the next few months, in my neighborhood, we'll welcome another newborn. Keep being creative, let's move some dirt and get this done.
Yeah.
I mean, in answer to some of that, Alex, I agree with you on everything, but we settled for a lot less in the name of getting it done, and guess what got done. Zero. It's been a couple of years already. There's no intentions on starting it, doing it. It's just held up with legal mumbo jumbo. So even the little bit we agreed to have removed, it's still there, not getting removed, you know? That's very frustrating in itself. And I understand properties and this and that. My whole thing, I've been sitting here dealing with it for a long time with this, was the streets. Or people use it, you're on your bikes, your dogs, your kids, your toddlers, everybody. Your tires are turning it up, the cars are turning it up. We know it's there. We're all breathing it, we're bringing it home. Dogs put it in your bed, you're breathing it again. It can't be good for us. So we recognize that. I think we settled for a lot less than we should have in the name of getting it done quickly, and that's simply not the case. So, and then now we keep finding it, so maybe it's good they didn't get it done. I don't know. There's a lot of problems, and to all of our, you know, to the conversation here, if it's not part of the B Cup, if they're not gonna cover it, if they're gonna beat around the bush and it's gonna take more years, Alex is right, we've done now. Our focus should be do it ourselves, find the money, I don't know. Maybe we need to go for grants, maybe we need to stop looking at fun stuff or anything else we do until we get this actual problem cleaned up.
I think Chauncey's idea, I mean, he mentioned chip seal. I don't recall ever discussing chip seal. I recall pavement being in a lot of people's comments, and just the numbers associated with that being kind of ending the discussion very quickly. Also, that just changes kind of the character of our streets and our town, which some people might not like. But chip seal to me is actually very attractive because it's not quite pavement, the numbers are a lot less, and we're not worrying about where all of this material is going to be disposed of. We're removing the exposure pathway by capping it. And in a pretty like surefire way that requires very little maintenance, and we have the equipment and the ability to maintain that on our own if we need to dig through it, unlike pavement, which seems like kind of an onerous process. I'd like to make that a part of the discussion with AR, and also make it part of our discussion on how, if we have to take care of something on our own, perhaps that's how we do it.
Yeah, Chauncey, I was wondering, kind of the same thing. Can you help differentiate chip sealing from paving or asphalt?
Yeah, so it's still technically paving, but instead of like hot batch asphalt that comes and gets applied, it is an oil base that goes down first, and a larger, for this situation, that on roads that don't have any treatment, it'd be a larger chip rock that gets laid down, and that adheres to compaction of vehicles and rolling of the material. And then usually to build up the surface, there'd be another application of a smaller chip on it to be a finished surface. So usually it depends on traffic, but here's probably a 15-year life, and from the conversations I've had, it's about there's 4 applications available from the original time. So it's probably a 50 to 60-year horizon on a decision that would need to be made after on what the next step is, whether it's pulverizing asphalt in 60 years, or if it's potentially removed or addressed and reapplied as a base fresh coat.
One of the things that Dylan told me a while back, about at least pretty recently, was when I asked him about paving over everything like asphalt, like Telluride did years ago. His thing was, where do you put the asphalt when you need to dig it up to repair a water line or something? So on the chip sealing, that's a far less issue, right? Where would you put the stuff, the matter you need to dig up and do some work?
Much less of an issue. You wouldn't like be milling asphalt out or cutting patches and re-asphalting and dug through. You could apply the oil material and then just resurface that area.
Okay.
So it's
Our
just,
highway is chip seal.
That's what I thought, so that's why I got confused
You
between
go out
asphalt.
there and when they
Usually
reach out,
they're on the highway all the time with chip seal.
I believe we have had that discussion with them, but I'd be interested as well to find out.
I would like to too, you know, I don't remember really dwelling on that as much as just throwing out the asphalt thing and it being.
I think everyone had
cost
asphalt in
prohibitive.
their mind when we were talking about paving, and I think the numbers were speaking to blacktop, like asphalt. And, you know, the stormwater is a big piece of this. I think this would take care of a lot of those concerns, there's a lot less erosion associated with it.
I mean, that's a big part of the problem as well. I mean, we're on the hook for the cost of stormwater, and we pave, we need stormwater regardless, what's the
We're gonna need to, for sure.
If we're paving, it has to go somewhere, especially. So it's gonna get super expensive, even if they said they put chip seal down, and we're still on the hook for the stormwater. Now, I mean, it'd be my recommendation of any of these road segments that we are chip sealing in order to cover up the mine waste we can see and agree is there, that should come with storm drain on those portions as well.
Yeah, I think the issue, just, public comment we heard about, let's test it and sample it, and if it's above, add it to list. ARCO, when they came back to the town's position, said grid sampling is what the work plan approved. That is an issue for human health. Spot areas above the action level, there's not enough continuation of those. It's not the grid or that sampling area, so they don't believe it to be a concern of human health because the exposure is limited, because maybe it's a streak of 5 feet, so you have to be right on that one spot. I think we understand historically that that material is hidden in other areas of these right-of-ways, but that is my one concern of just moving forward and getting sample data and coming back with a list. Their best management practices that we're going to try, that's a stopgap solution. The last conversation I had with their attorney, they thought that was the proposed solution. Tom had to clarify, no, we're not accepting that as long-term. That's something that we want to do this year until interim measures, until work's done. So it's challenging because although we would think and common sense dictates, if we test it, it's contaminated, it gets added to the list. Their toxicologists and the people they have internally are saying if it wasn't sampled in the grid pattern to what was approved by, or the EPA proposed and approved by the CCPG, that it's not actually a risk to human health because the exposure area is so much smaller and reduced than that whole segment of a composite sample. So that's my one concern, full steam ahead on trying to remediate and parse it together. I think we need to have a stronger position in terms of the funding and settlement agreement or an amendment to that to provide direction, because yeah, maybe they agree that behind in Argentine it's still large streaks, yeah, that's definitely an issue, but in other areas where there's smaller increments or smaller components of it, but we know it to be true that historically it tested above based on previous sampling exercises. It's just a little bit of a tug of war right now with AR.
Well, yeah, it's this board and ARCO boards, and give me a break, we don't stand a chance, and we've been running around the bush, and maybe get a word, and we feel like we get somewhere, we know we're not. I mean, it feels like if we want anything to get done, we should just do it ourselves, or call the EPA, it'll get done eventually.
I'd love to know if, like, what if it's cost of remediation that's holding it up, if it's repository space, like, what is the hesitation for adding a new road segment? Is it just precedent, they don't wanna be responsible for all of it? I'd like to be able to understand that, because I think, if we propose a chip seal solution, I mean, that, maybe it's cheaper than digging up and replacing, I don't know. Digging up 12 inches of road or several inches of road and replacing it is going to be one, insanely disruptive for every single neighborhood.
Yeah.
Even if you don't live on a street that is getting remediated, you're going to experience it. And also, it's a lot going into the repository. It's removing space for, parcels being remediated in other areas where we're gonna be removing material, or AR is gonna be removing material. So perhaps this is going to counteract both concerns.
I don't know, it's very frustrating.
So I've got a question. Pat mentioned we're on the hook for the storm drainage. I thought AR, for those streets that need to be remediated, AR was going to.
Yeah, but the AR came back and said the map is the map. Nothing additional segments.
Yeah, I got it.
And then, so right now, like Argentine, with those issues, the town would be responsible for paying for that segment. So that's the issue, is like, we can move full steam ahead, start working on the roads, even capping it with road base that we have and doing some other measures like we did by the cottages, but then all of a sudden we have funding to dig a trench that's completely contaminated. It's like, well, the agreement is supposed to cover these costs. but it's only gonna cover the incremental cost of hauling it, even though the stormwater is being constructed to protect the right of way from erosion issues, because there is a systematic deficiency in the funding agreement with the map that was approved as the exhibit of contaminated road segments. That is like a systemic problem that needs to be resolved, because funding for stormwater is tied to it, what segments get done, what gets prioritized, how we're remediating lots, it's all tied to this one map, and it's the reason why some of the work hasn't started, because of stormwater issues and street flows. So I just don't know. I think we can go back to them. They provided the position, the town responded and said, no, we still believe this to be true, these are the reasons why. We still haven't received a response after a month or two. What was that, May we had that conversation? Or no, April, so 2 months.
Well, I think the idea of independently doing the sampling, at least to show problem areas, it might not be statistically valid for a whole road segment, but at least it'll show that. Then we've got some data to give AR and say, these are our concerns. It's not just discoloration, it's discoloration with lead above the action levels at this depth, and maybe we can turn around.
They already have that data. We're gonna be doing them in a favor, they already have all that data. All those road segments were on the table years ago, and things fell apart, and then when it came back, they said, we sat here and had people tell us, we think just, it went away, just evolved out of here. It's kind of what happens with this stuff, the streets are paid for, but it's not there anymore, it must have just went away. Essentially what we were told by professionals, and the board said, well, you people are the professionals, we'll have to take your word for it. So it's as simple as that, but they have the data. I mean, to go after them is silly.
Was the sampling of the old data the same protocol, same depth, same amount?
Probably not. So it was a thorough, maybe actually 2 inches, not 0 to 2 inches. You got the option of going 0 or 2 inches, and you're getting the dust that we paved the streets with. So
I'm not arguing, I'm just trying to get information back. I don't know why they would have ignored the previous sampling information.
my money. They cut the whole job by 70%, which in turn cut the cost down 70%. I don't blame them. They're very smart and powerful. I'd probably do the same thing if I was smart and powerful. But, the other thing is, do we care? We got what we got, take what we can get. I bought my property, I tried to raise my kids here knowing what was going on. That was my deal, I wasn't part of saying AR is responsible for it, and if we were having that discussion now, I wouldn't say they're responsible for it. We all bought in, at our own risk. People are raising their kids at their own risk, and people should be aware that it's a contaminated town, and it's always gonna be. I don't know what the future of environmental concerns are, so we take what we can get from them now, knowing this other stuff's there, maybe we put a little gravel on it, whatever. In 15, 20 years, where's town standing? Town's getting sued by a lot of the new people that are here at that point. Their kids are getting sick from it, or really hard to prove anyway, and then town's on the hook for all that because we already signed a no action determination for all those segments of streets because we were told that it was okay. I think it, leaves town liable for a lot in the future. So there's a lot of big decisions that should come first to determine how to proceed with it. Alex?
I think we're kind of in agreement on some things that I think what makes sense to do is for these areas that stuff exists, and like you saw after the grading, that's the best possible thing as the equipment comes through and shapes stuff off and you can see what's there. Grab data and you've got those numbers. And then, maybe another thing too in your pocket is like, if you have a clean segment, like you take over by the town shop, right? There's a section that's gonna get remediated, and then right next to it is an orange pocket that you're talking about. The next time there's maintenance, that's pushed into the new area and it's no longer remediated. So in all cases, the first step is to sample, and because, they're gonna have to follow a systematic process, you can go out there with these areas you know of and see and just have the data.
I think, for me, the biggest thing is time. We've lost a lot of time, and if we bring it all back to the table now, that'd be great. If they're gonna do it, it's gonna buy them, it might be another 5 years or more before we see anything started on any of this that we've all agreed is the right way. I really think with the whole become moving along, the roads are gonna get immediate attention. We all agreed on that. People need to sign up and get their houses done, takes time, whatever, but roads are the most important, and we're just not getting anywhere. And I think it's silly of us to believe that we can go back and say, well, we want you to do this or that, or there's more, we want you to fix it. We can try it, but we're just wasting time.
Well, I think Alex's suggestion is good in terms of, it's not right at the same time you're talking.
Just to keep
But
track of it.
I think that's a great, I
We can
can
sum
The
it
other piece,
I
the
can
other
picture
piece
what
to
he's
it is
saying.
your backstop on all of this is the state and EPA, and they can't ignore data, right?
I mean, like you said, Dennis could sum it all up in a short day and take you around with a hand tool and scrape it and say, check, here. Then, he can, that's no problem. As far as chasing activity around to see if there might be something, it's great to document it, like you're saying, but if we wanted to expose it, we could just walk around with Dennis and put it all on the map. And I think we'd find out that the map looks exactly like the original analytics from 2004 that ARCO already has and is aware of.
Shanti, I have a quick question. I think Silverlands isn't on the map, but somebody asked if they want their parcel added. Did you mention that they want to add their parcel to the list of being sampled, and they didn't reply to the original request? Can they do that?
Yeah, they can just get a hold of me, or there is a link on the town's website to a page that has all the VCUP information with Pioneer who's doing the sampling, contact information for them. It's all available right on our website. But I'm happy to facilitate and make connections if someone needs a little extra assistance.
Okay, cool.
So, what direction did you get from this conversation? Check into chip seal,
Check in the chip
make them
seal,
aware there's a lot
start
more segments.
sampling with data and figuring out why we haven't received a response yet.
Is there something we can do about demanding things move faster, demanding we get
No, I
immediate
have.
response on things? We ask a simple question, we want a simple answer, not 100 pages of legal terms that none of us even understand anyway. It's always that beating around the bush. Even we have our lawyer on, you ask him a simple question, you're gonna get a 20-minute explanation that never answered our question.
Well, I did speak with Mark Rudolph, the CDPHE isn't super thrilled with this pace this is going, so he said he would reach out and speak with the Atlantic Richfield representatives. That was like a month ago, I haven't heard back. So there are other people trying to support the town on these matters. Mark was another person that had thought chip seal was a good alternative. I mean, but it's just, Atlantic Richfield and British Petroleum are such a big machine, they don't move fast. I don't know how we can stress that to them.
I mean, it seems like right now, there has been zero benefit to having finalized that agreement. Between then and now, we have received, other than a little financial
The chloride
compensation.
application has been.
That's true, that's very nice.
That's been excellent.
That's very nice. Maybe we settle for that, maybe that's all there is to it. They keep the dust down and we'll call it good. But we don't ever sign anything that says they're off the hook, so that we're not on the hook, and they can just mag the roads every year and we call it good. We don't need storm drains, we don't need anything, we live the way we live. That's fine with me.
The mag chloride's
Get a lot easier.
very efficient and effective.
Do this once a year. We buy our own water truck.
We're looking into a water tank to put in the dump truck right now, actually, so we can.
Like I said, I'm not, a lot of the past, people like to go after them, they're rich, they, blah, blah, blah. I don't feel like that at all. I feel like if we need to clean it up, somebody came and told us, hey, they're financially responsible to clean it up. Well, that's convenient, right, because they can afford it, so there's been that. But at the same time, if they're not gonna do it, then, and it's a problem we think needs addressed, then we should start looking into how we can just do it ourselves.
Is the seed ever gonna come up for the grass they planted? Stuff they put down everywhere to seed, I think, Detroit field and. down by-
Hydro seed,
Yeah, is it ever gonna do anything?
maybe grow grass.
I think it would require rain.
I think that's.
Yeah.
I guess that's
That
what it
we're
is.
conserving water
Because it's not
too,
doing
so we're
anything.
An opportune time.
getting it from both ends.
You know, the wattles of hay that they're spreading all over town, that's supposed to keep the bioavailability down to what that's, you
It's
know.
really what it's supposed to do, is
Well, you
keep
make chloride
moisture, but if it doesn't
and
rain at all,
hay all over the
inevitably
place,
it's not
call
doing
it
its
good.
job because we don't have any rain. Alright.
All right.
No rain, no stormwater though.
So,
Yeah.
you got a direction on that, you know where you're heading.
Problem solved.
We'll get another update in a few months, maybe next spring,
Thank you, Chelsea.
We'll push them a little harder
see
on
if they
it.
return
It's
calls.
super critical that this gets resolved by September or October, because engineering needs to be done and needs to go out to bid and start next year. I think that's the importance of
Yeah.
these
I don't
conversations.
think they care about that. They've proven that. So, anyway, good job. So Garish, you had requested maybe a work session for the sewer design, is that my understanding?
I suggested it, yeah.
Yeah, do you wanna explain your thoughts to us?
Well, I don't think Benny was here for the meeting when we had the engineer from behind and come and kind of walk through their 30% design. And it looks to me like people that live here and have on-the-ground information, know the lay of the land, may have some suggestions to help them in coming up with a design that's as effective or more effective and less costly, especially bored under the highway. They now have 3 bores planned on their 30%, and I think there's ways using topography to gravity feed flow. It would make sense to at least give them the information. If we had a work session, we all sat down with the engineers and said, have you thought about this? Why is it, this seems to be redundant, you know?
No, I got the gist of all that. My question is the 20th or 22nd, what works for everybody?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, I know, what we're, yeah, I've been in the
I'm
loop.
not gonna interrupt you while you're talking.
No, I didn't
know
try
what you
to,
want.
but
I want you to explain.
That was a great synopsis.
No, I know, but
Now we know what
I'm
we're
not trying to
talking
be rude, Garris, but I was filled in with why we're talking about this stuff, so I'm not trying to be rude, I'm just,
No, I agree.
So would the
I'm
work
just like-
session be during the day or at night?
I'll do it on Saturday during the day or Sunday, but not.
well, we had the 20th and 22nd, what the dates that they were looking
Isn't that a
at, that they had the
Monday?
availability
Monday and a Wednesday.
of July.
Monday and a Wednesday of July, that's
Yes.
Donzel, Toby, and I think maybe Todd.
Now, what's their
in person.
availability though, as far as time during the day? Do we have to take off half a day from work?
No, I think the original plan was to try to start early in
Like,
the evening
Like
time.
six.
yeah, like
6-ish,
well,
and they'll
that's
stay as long
perfect.
as needed.
That's perfect.
As much capacity and bandwidth as everyone.
Yeah, no, I mean, I've already, I'd like to see in more in-depth the maps, what they're talking about, but
They wanna bring-
I've been thinking about like just what the topography of this town after beating the
30%
mean
is a great
streets of
time.
Rico for 30
This is
years.
a great way to save money on engineering costs by doing it. They said gladly bring full-size plans, people can mark them up and they have
Yeah, I
some
think
conversations I've had with some trustees about ideas, they're already looking into them to see the feasibility, so they'll be able to report back on that.
Yeah, well, I think it's a
Just
wonderful
maybe-
idea, Garris, I really do. I think it's something that if we're gonna be proactive on this thing, we should have our input.
Yeah,
Is this
great.
meeting open to the public?
Yes.
Okay,
Be a workshop, so it's.
so gotcha, so like people that might have concerns about lift stations, would be,
I mean, the
Okay.
plans have been available or online and people can look at it if they have questions about how maybe their house would tie in, or they don't see an alignment to their property.
Okay.
That's an awesome opportunity to bring it up, and then also for the board to see it all, talk through it, provide refinement, so they're not into 60%, we're going backwards and delaying the project.
I have no preference between the two dates. I will be out of town for both and would be happy to zoom in and attend virtually either night.
I'm open
But
to
a week or 2 days?
Monday and Wednesday.
Monday and Wednesday, 20th and 22nd of July. I'm fine with both days.
Do you wanna keep it on a Wednesday? So
Let's
that's
do
kind of
Wednesday.
our.
So they're okay with either one of those?
I spoke with all of the other
That
players.
was Wednesday and Thursday?
Monday or Wednesday.
I'll go with the Wednesday,
Those
now
were the
that these
days that
guys
they
are
said
cool
they
with
would
it,
do.
these guys
But it's
prefer
not the
Wednesday.
third Wednesday?
Wednesday.
We got an early start.
Fourth Wednesday, it's an
It's the
early.
fourth
Yes, the
Wednesday.
week
Five
after.
Wednesdays in July?
Yeah, cause the first is a Wednesday this month, up on the.
Yeah.
I will likely be zooming into that July meeting as well. We haven't finalized dates, but I think we're gonna be out of town for a couple weeks. Even though I say that and then I keep showing up every time I say I'm not gonna be. But I will be zooming in, I'm still available.
Yeah, I don't care. Pick one.
Wednesday.
Or ask them if they have a better preference. Wednesday?
Wednesday the
Wednesday.
22nd at 6
At 6 o'clock.
At 6 p.m.
Yeah,
Alright.
Yeah, sounds perfect.
sweet.
Till
We can do that.
whenever.
6, yeah.
7:22. 6.
And then Donzo coming up? And we don't have the ability to put people like that up in the manse yet, huh?
We can, yeah, we totally can.
But I mean, I think offer it to them, at least they'll come up here, stay till 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
Is it furnished?
I didn't think it was,
But we definitely figure it out. They usually book accommodations and doors or.
Right, and he's driving the Cortez. I just
Yeah.
mentioned it out there, but
You
you know,
know,
it's
so
not
where,
for him, for.
He also has
Yeah,
to-
a really nice slide-in camper.
Straight up
He
bed.
might be bringing his own van.
Sure, I'll talk to you.
He works.
The other day.
Okay.
He was here.
All right, so we got that
Sheriff.
off the chart. Do we need to talk about the hybrid meeting pilot program, Chauncey?
The hybrid meeting.
This is just an FYI for the board's information. We talked through a bunch of ideas around, heard comments from the community on timeline, discussed internally at staff what we can manage comfortably. So right now we're just piloting, business day prior to the meeting, people need to register. Day of the meeting, they'll get a link, they can zoom in if they would so choose to do so. If they miss those cutoffs, they're welcome to at least listen via YouTube.
Awesome.
That's the direction we're going with. We'll try it out for a month or two, and then we'll amend the resolution and put it into full practice, but I think that's a good way to accommodate it. A lot of people just wanna listen along, so I think we'll see more people on YouTube than Zoom, but just for your knowledge.
Awesome.
I like that there's an option for both, that's great, because the Board of County Commissioners, you have to register just to listen in, so.
We'll keep the YouTube going.
Oh, the county commissioners were here on Monday, Garish and I went to their meeting,
I was,
and Chauncey. Yeah,
yeah.
I don't know if you guys knew that.
Okay,
Kind of snuck up on us.
this is just, let me just,
Now that I can't.
one quick thing I want to say.
Too much, I should have been there.
So the sheriff was here for the board meeting on Monday, and I talked to him about, he would like to have more presence of deputies up in our neck of the woods, except housing and the travel distances are so far. So I suggested that the manse might be available on occasion to have deputies stay in and for him to talk to Chauncey about it.
I would say, yeah, maybe he could talk to Chauncey, and I wouldn't have mentioned that it a thing, but maybe he could have hinted to talk to Chauncey about it, whatever, yeah. It's a board decision, I'm not opposed to that. Don's on his way out anyway, as far as I understand, he's only got a few months left, so who knows what the new sheriff wants and.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah. Like I said, with Don's or anybody coming, Jerry, you know, our own marshal, anybody, get snowed in, and if it's there, it's lit up, it's heated, man, let's let people use it.
Kind of got a quick question though, I thought of Matt's house earlier in the meeting was relating to something, but I didn't think it was ready, I thought we were still remodeling it, fixing it up.
It's just not
We did
furnished.
it, we got everything out,
So
man.
you got it, and then I thought once that was done, I thought we were planning on renting it.
We don't have any plans for it, like,
But
time.
It was
I mean,
potential
we were
for
talking about it.
maintenance.
Like
That was
employee
what it was talked
No,
about.
I thought we decided it didn't need employee housing because we were turning the church into a community center. I thought we decided it would be before.
I'm certain that open rent on the maps was never a matter of discussion, because I'm certain that town does not want to get into being a landlord.
I know a guy who
heard that, so.
that's all.
But we can let people stay there.
Does he need a job?
Law enforcement.
Too small.
Oh,
But anyway, no, I swear, I thought we were gonna try to create a private revenue stream by that rental. Once it didn't need to be employee housing, didn't need to be employee
I
housing.
think what the, actually, as
That's what I
recalling the discussions that you
I
might
had
be
heard that.
recalling,
Mhm.
I think what we were talking about is, my question was, if we are offering this as employee housing, is that just part of their salary, or if they are expected to pay rent?
But when we hired Dylan to do the job, we took that off the table, that was the whole
That's
thing.
right.